Hidden beneath the layers of time are fragments of a civilization that may have spanned continents, leaving behind traces that challenge our understanding of human history. From megalithic structures aligned with the stars to mysterious artifacts dispersed across oceans, the evidence hints at a global intelligence whose reach and knowledge have been almost entirely forgotten. Scholars and explorers alike have puzzled over recurring motifs, sudden bursts of technological sophistication, and cultural echoes that appear in the most unexpected places, suggesting that the roots of civilization may run deeper and wider than previously imagined. As we traverse the mist-shrouded ruins of ancient cities, the submerged platforms of forgotten coastlines, and the enigmatic carvings scattered across remote landscapes, we will encounter clues of a world that existed long before recorded history. Through these journeys, we begin to piece together a tantalizing puzzle, the possible existence of a lost global empire, whose memory endures in the structures, stories, and symbols still hidden across the earth. Monumental architecture before cities, Göbekli Tepe. Rising from the arid plateau of southeastern Turkey, Göbekli Tepe presents an astonishing scene of stone circles and carved pillars that challenge everything scholars have long believed about the dawn of civilization. The site, over 11,000 years old, predates both writing and agriculture, yet it showcases monumental architecture that some theorists argue could be remnants of knowledge from a civilization far older than recorded history. These concentric enclosures, adorned with abstract symbols and intricate animal reliefs, evoke the notion that the humans who built them possess skills and organizational abilities far beyond what was thought possible for hunter-gatherer societies, leading some to speculate about the possibility of a single lost global empire that may have influenced disparate cultures worldwide. The plateau itself stretches across an expansive horizon, dry and windswept, yet beneath its surface lie the foundations of massive T-shaped pillars, many weighing several tons. Each pillar is carefully carved from limestone, featuring depictions of snakes, scorpions, boars, and enigmatic abstract symbols that seem to speak a language now lost to time. Archaeologists have painstakingly unearthed multiple circular enclosures, some reaching diameters of over 20 meters, each arranged with precision that suggests a sophisticated understanding of spatial planning. The very scale of the construction has led some researchers to question how a society without domesticated animals or metal tools could coordinate such an enormous undertaking, pointing to the tantalizing hypothesis that some form of shared architectural knowledge might have been transmitted from a more advanced source. Excavation reports indicate that the pillars were erected in a deliberate sequence, with central stones flanked by slightly smaller monoliths, often paired in a way that could signify symbolic or ritual importance. Scholars note that the site appears to have been intentionally buried at least partially, a process that would have required significant labour and forethought. This intentional concealment has given rise to speculation that Göbekli Tepe was not merely a gathering place for local communities, but part of a larger network of monumental sites, perhaps echoing similar construction patterns observed in distant regions. Proponents of the lost global civilization theory suggest that such a network might have spread architectural principles across vast distances, leaving hints of a civilization now vanished beneath millennia of earth and cultural transformation. The carvings themselves offer a glimpse into the minds of their creators. Many of the animals are depicted in dynamic poses, their bodies twisting and coiling across the stone surfaces with astonishing realism. Scholars debate the meaning of these reliefs, noting that they could represent mythological stories, cosmological observations, or symbolic codes, yet there is no consensus. Some theorists argue that the complexity and consistency of the carvings, replicated across multiple enclosures, could indicate a standardized set of knowledge shared among communities, knowledge that may have originated from an advanced society whose influence stretched far beyond the Anatolian plateau. Radiocarbon dating places the earliest construction of Göbekli Tepe around 9,600 BCE, a time traditionally associated with scattered hunter-gatherer bands rather than settled communities capable of large-scale construction. The sudden appearance of such monumental architecture without clear precedents elsewhere in the archaeological record has fueled debate over whether the site represents an isolated anomaly or evidence of a broader, now-lost culture with the organizational capacity to plan and execute complex projects. In connecting these observations to the global hypothesis, Some proponents suggest that Göbekli Tepe may be a surviving fragment of an architectural tradition that once extended across continents, influencing other early monumental sites long before written history could record its existence. Excavations led by Klaus Schmidt and subsequent teams reveal that the site was never meant for habitation, yet the arrangement of pillars implies structured communal activity, possibly ritualistic or ceremonial in nature. Layers of ash and traces of fires suggest repeated gatherings, and the sheer effort required to transport, carve and erect the massive stones implies coordination that might have drawn on techniques inherited from an older sophisticated culture. Advocates of the global civilization theory argue that the precision, scale and symbolic complexity of Göbekli Tepe make it difficult to explain purely within the framework of small, independent hunter-gatherer communities, inviting speculation that knowledge from a vanished empire informed its creation. Comparisons with other megalithic sites highlight intriguing parallels that proponents often cite. Though separated by thousands of kilometers and centuries, the geometric arrangements, symbolic carvings, and astronomical considerations echo elements observed in sites like Pumapunku in South America or Newgrange in Ireland. While mainstream archaeology attributes these similarities to convergent evolution of human culture, theorists of a lost global empire interpret them as subtle evidence of a shared blueprint, a set of architectural and symbolic conventions passed across time and geography from a single advanced civilization that once held knowledge, now lost to humanity. The notion that Göbekli Tepe could be connected to a larger widespread tradition is reinforced by the sophistication of its spatial layout. Some enclosures appear to align with celestial events, suggesting that the builders were attuned to solar and perhaps even stellar cycles. This awareness raises profound questions about the transmission of astronomical knowledge. Could these early architects have inherited observational practices from a vanished civilization, preserving them in stone long before writing codified human understanding? Proponents argue that the very existence of such foresight in a pre-agricultural society hints at a continuity of knowledge that mainstream timelines struggle to account for. Material analysis of the limestone pillars reveals tool marks consistent with chiseling techniques, yet no metal tools have been discovered from the same period. The precision achieved in shaping and positioning the stones continues to puzzle researchers, prompting suggestions that innovative methods were used that may have originated from traditions now entirely lost. The logistical feat of quarrying, transporting and erecting these monoliths invites speculation about the social organization of the builders. Could such techniques and knowledge have been remnants from a more advanced civilization whose influence was gradually forgotten across millennia? Excavation layers indicate that Göbekli Tepe underwent multiple phases of construction, destruction and burial. This cyclical activity suggests that the site held enduring significance over generations, potentially preserving ancient cultural memory. Some theorists posit that these repeated cycles of use and concealment were designed to maintain knowledge within a select group, a deliberate effort to safeguard sophisticated understanding in a world otherwise lacking written records. Within this context, Göbekli Tepe becomes more than a collection of stones. It emerges as a silent witness to lost knowledge that may have once spanned continents. While mainstream interpretations caution against linking disparate ancient sites into a single narrative, the patterns at Göbekli Tepe have inspired alternative hypotheses about a global civilization. The combination of monumental scale, symbolic sophistication, astronomical alignment, and labour-intensive construction forms a set of anomalies that cannot be easily explained by isolated hunter-gatherer ingenuity alone. Advocates suggest that the remnants of Göbekli Tepe represent a tangible trace of human achievement before recorded history, evidence that some form of advanced knowledge once existed and could have influenced civilizations far beyond Anatolia. The site continues to yield discoveries with each excavation season, revealing additional pillars, carvings, and evidence of complex ritual behavior. As researchers uncover more about the organization, symbolism, and construction techniques, the theoretical implications expand, feeding the possibility that Göbekli Tepe is a fragment of a global architectural and cultural legacy. Its enduring mystery, combined with its undeniable sophistication, invites both wonder and careful speculation about the human past. Every stone at Göbekli Tepe whispers of a knowledge lost to time, hinting at a civilization whose reach and understanding may have once spanned far beyond the Anatolian hills. The hidden network at Karahan Tepe, Whispers of an ancient purpose seem to linger among the partially buried T-shaped limestone pillars of Karahan Tepe, arranged in concentric enclosures and etched with animal motifs that hint at knowledge which may have once connected civilizations across vast distances. Unlike the more famous Göbekli Tepe, this site remained hidden from the wider archaeological community for decades, its subtle features giving the impression of secrecy and deliberate concealment. Scholars have described the pillars as monumental, yet enigmatic, and theorists argue that the patterns, repetition, and symbolic carvings might be traces of a lost global civilization whose influence stretched far beyond Anatolia, leaving subtle imprints that survive only in stone. Karahan Tepe occupies a quiet stretch of the Anatolian plateau, where gentle slopes and scattered limestone outcrops hide enclosures that have preserved traces of human activity for over 11,000 years. The terrain itself seems to guard the site, offering natural protection that may have contributed to the survival of its delicate carvings. Excavations reveal that the surrounding soil contains remnants of fires, small stone tools, and fragments of carvings, hinting at human presence long before the development of cities or agriculture. This context situates Karahan Tepe within a prehistoric landscape, yet the sophistication of the construction defies expectations for a population of hunter-gatherers living at that time. Monoliths rise from the soil, their surfaces carved with twisting serpents, coiled boars, and abstract symbols that suggest deliberate meaning beyond simple ornamentation. The T-shaped pillars, some towering over 5 meters, are decorated with figures in dynamic, almost narrative poses, evoking movement and life. The placement of animals, repeated across multiple enclosures, creates a visual language that remains largely undeciphered. Proponents of a lost global civilization theory point to these recurring motifs as evidence of shared knowledge, a symbolic vocabulary that could have travelled across regions, connecting disparate societies with a single cultural thread. The organisation of stones and the precision required to position them imply coordinated labour and technical understanding, leading some theorists to suggest origins tied to a far-reaching advanced culture. Moving massive limestone blocks without metal tools or draft animals would have demanded sophisticated planning and knowledge of leverage, angles, and human organisation. Scholars acknowledge the ingenuity of these efforts, yet the theory that the builders might have inherited techniques or ideas from a civilization now lost adds an extra layer of intrigue. In this light, each pillar becomes not only a stone artifact, but a potential messenger from a forgotten age of human accomplishment. From above, the arrangement of enclosures forms subtle geometries that hint at patterns extending beyond this site, suggesting a hidden network linking distant regions. Some researchers have noted alignments that correspond loosely with cardinal points or solar events, though the precision is still under debate. What remains undeniable is the careful consideration evident in the placement of pillars and walls, hinting at spatial knowledge that goes beyond mere shelter or gathering space. This geometrical awareness, when seen in conjunction with other megalithic sites, raises questions about whether an underlying system or tradition once guided construction practices across vast distances. While scholars describe Karahan Tepe as a ceremonial site for early hunter-gatherers, anomalies in construction and symbolic consistency leave room for alternative theories. Unlike settlements meant for daily life, Karahan Tepe shows no evidence of permanent habitation. Its enclosures appear purely ritualistic, yet the care and repetition of carvings across multiple pillars suggest a complexity that exceeds what would be necessary for local ceremonial purposes alone. This divergence between practical and symbolic function feeds speculation that knowledge embedded here may have travelled or been preserved intentionally, a vestige of something larger than the local community could achieve independently. Animals and abstract motifs appear across multiple pillars in repeated patterns, suggesting a codified symbolism that some argue could have travelled long distances as shared knowledge. Serpents twist in predictable curves, while boars and predatory creatures occupy specific positions relative to the T-shaped stones. Abstract symbols, sometimes geometric, sometimes enigmatic, appear consistently, hinting at a system of meaning now lost. Advocates of a lost global empire theory suggest these motifs may not be purely local inventions, but inherited symbols, passed down through generations or across regions, representing knowledge that predates recorded history. Portions of the site lie beneath intentional layers of soil, concealing the pillars while preserving them, a choice that fuels speculation about secret knowledge maintained for select communities. Scholars debate whether the burial was an act of abandonment, protection, or ritual closure, but the fact that much of the site was deliberately hidden adds to its aura of mystery. The act of concealment itself could reflect a cultural memory and understanding that what was inscribed in stone held significance beyond the immediate moment, intended to endure for future generations. Some theorists interpret this as evidence of an ancient society conscious of preserving its knowledge, potentially connected to broader networks of monumental architecture. Similarities in pillar shapes and symbolic motifs emerge when compared to megalithic sites far away, forming subtle echoes that theorists link to a broader, possibly global tradition. While mainstream archaeology often attributes these parallels to convergent development or coincidental cultural evolution, proponents suggest a deliberate transmission of architectural and symbolic conventions. They argue that sites like Karahan Tepe, Pumapunku, or megalithic enclosures in Europe and the Near East might share a common blueprint, evidence of a civilization whose reach was vast yet erased by time, leaving only fragments of influence in stone. Thousands of years of wind, rain, and erosion have softened the pillars' edges, yet careful study reveals deliberate patterns that hint at knowledge preserved against the decay of time. Even in damaged or buried sections, carvings retain a sense of rhythm, proportion, and intent. The continued survival of these features, despite natural forces, emphasizes both the durability of the construction and the deliberate care of the builders. For theorists of a lost global civilization, this endurance suggests the possibility of a knowledge system designed to transcend generations, a physical manifestation of memory encoded in stone. If Karahan Tepe is indeed part of a larger hidden network of monumental sites, the careful arrangement of pillars and symbols could indicate a sophisticated understanding transmitted across generations and regions. The implications extend beyond the local community. They raise questions about how knowledge, ritual, and architectural principles could have moved across prehistoric landscapes. Each carved figure, each measured placement, becomes part of a larger puzzle, a potential fragment of a civilization whose scale and complexity may never be fully reconstructed from surviving evidence alone. Beneath the quiet of these ancient stones, Karahan Tepe seems to guard secrets whose scale and origin might forever evade the eyes of the living. Sunken shores of the post-Ice Age world. Hidden under waves that now cover ancient coastlines, hints of human presence suggest settlements and structures that may once have spanned continents, whispering of a civilization erased by rising seas. As ocean levels rose following the last ice age, vast stretches of land were submerged, taking with them communities that had flourished along shores now hidden beneath water. Archaeologists have discovered submerged terraces, riverbeds, and platforms that indicate these landscapes were once habitable and possibly carefully modified by humans. Some theorists argue that the patterns of these lost coasts could point to an advanced network of settlements, echoing knowledge that might have been shared across regions long before recorded history. As glaciers melted and oceans swelled 12,000 years ago, coastlines shifted dramatically, and entire ecosystems were submerged, forcing human populations to adapt or relocate. Estimates suggest that global sea levels rose by as much as 120 meters over several millennia, reshaping continents and swallowing communities that had thrived on fertile plains and river deltas. The dramatic scale of this transformation left behind faint traces, often underwater, that modern technology can barely detect. Proponents of the lost global civilization theory see in these submerged landscapes more than natural consequences. They see potential evidence of widespread coordinated settlement patterns now erased by the tide. Sunken terraces, river valleys, and platforms lying under shallow seas reveal contours of landscapes that may have once supported human habitation and complex activity. In places such as the North Sea's Doggerland, the Eastern Mediterranean, and parts of Japan's continental shelf, sonar surveys and dredging have exposed outlines of what appear to be roads, foundations, and artificial embankments, while mainstream interpretations often explain these as natural formations. The geometric precision and alignment in multiple locations provoke speculation about human agency. If such features were designed and constructed, they hint at knowledge of engineering and organization that some associate with a broader, now lost civilization. Stone tools, carved stones, and fragments of structures recovered from underwater contexts hint at human ingenuity enduring against the tide, though the remnants are often fragmentary and enigmatic. Artifacts recovered from submerged terraces in the Baltic Sea and along the coasts of India and Southeast Asia include axes, chisels, and other implements, suggesting settled activity rather than transient occupation. Even when heavily worn or incomplete, these objects demonstrate careful craftsmanship. Some researchers propose that the recurrence of similar forms across distant coasts could indicate the transmission of knowledge or technique across regions, possibly evidence of a cultural network stretching far beyond the known settlements of the time. Across continents, coastlines share eerily similar patterns of submersion, suggesting that early humans may have followed comparable strategies for settlement placement, possibly guided by inherited knowledge. From Europe to the Pacific, submerged plains reveal regularized terraces and clearings that coincide with now lost rivers and estuaries. The repeated choice of elevated yet accessible land for habitation hints at an understanding of flood risk, resource access, and defensive advantage. For those exploring the theory of a lost global civilization, these patterns are tantalizing. They suggest that disparate groups might have shared a common architectural or environmental wisdom now obscured by rising seas. Conventional explanations attribute these features to migration, adaptation, or natural erosion, yet certain alignments and repeated structural motifs remain difficult to account for solely through coincidence. Archaeologists point to sea level rise, glacial retreat, and sediment deposition as explanations for submerged terraces and platforms, and the scarcity of preserved artifacts challenges the interpretation of these sites as settlements. Yet anomalies persist. Straight alignments, consistent orientation, and repeated motifs hint at deliberate design. For theorists, this raises the possibility that these sunken landscapes were part of a network whose scale and complexity remain invisible to traditional methods of study. When compared globally, drowned sites in Europe, Asia, and the Americas reveal subtle parallels in structure and orientation, hinting at cultural or technological connections now lost to time. Submerged channels in the North Sea mirror terraces found off the coast of India, while megalithic stone arrangements beneath shallow Mediterranean waters echo shapes seen elsewhere. While mainstream archaeology cautions against overinterpreting these correspondences, the similarities are difficult to ignore entirely. Some suggest that these patterns could represent remnants of a civilization that once disseminated architectural, navigational, or ritual knowledge across regions, leaving only scattered evidence to be discovered millennia later. Massive stones and possible ceremonial arrangements resting on the seabed suggest deliberate placement, provoking questions about whether such sites were part of a broader architectural tradition now vanished. Sonar imaging and underwater exploration have revealed stones arranged in circles, lines, and terraces, sometimes partially buried in sediment. The scale and arrangement of these features suggest intent, as natural forces alone rarely produce such regularity. Some theorists propose that these underwater monuments were symbolic, ceremonial, or even administrative centres, hinting at societal organisation beyond the local scope. These discoveries invite speculation about the knowledge and coordination required to create structures in landscapes now claimed by the ocean. Traces of carvings, geometric patterns, or symbolic layouts endure on submerged stones, offering tantalizing hints of a shared symbolic language that might have traversed vast regions. In some shallow Mediterranean sites, geometric carvings remain visible despite centuries underwater, echoing forms found on dry land megalithic monuments thousands of kilometers away. Advocates of a lost global civilization theory suggest that these repeated symbols may reflect codified knowledge or ritual practice that crossed cultural and geographic boundaries. Even if the meaning of the motifs is lost, the persistence of these designs in multiple submerged locales underscores the potential for global patterns of thought and technique. Erosion, sedimentation, and ocean currents have obscured much of the evidence, leaving only fragmented impressions of landscapes and human activity that once flourished at the water's edge. Organic materials have long decayed, while the physical features that remain are often partially buried or damaged. Yet in some places, the outlines of former settlements and roads remain discernible. These traces are fleeting and fragile, demanding careful study to interpret. For those exploring the possibility of a lost global civilization, The fragmentary nature of the evidence is both frustrating and tantalizing, a reminder of how much remains hidden beneath the waves. If these drowned sites were once interconnected, they could represent the remnants of a network reflecting advanced organizational, navigational, or cultural knowledge that extended far beyond isolated communities. Coordinated settlement placement, repeated symbolic motifs, and consistent architectural patterns suggest more than coincidence. Some theorists propose that the builders of these submerged sites may have shared a collective understanding of engineering, astronomy, or ritual, now lost to history. The implication is staggering, that human societies long before recorded history could have possessed knowledge and organizational skills that rivaled later civilizations, now largely forgotten due to rising seas and the passage of time. Silent under shifting tides, the lost shores hint at a world that may have once linked every continent in ways we're only beginning to glimpse. The submerged city off Dwarka. Legends speak of a city whose streets once pulsed with life, and fragments of stone and artifact now challenge us to consider what history may have truly concealed. Across the world, myths and underwater traces hint at settlements swallowed by the sea, and Dwarka may be the clearest echo of a civilization whose reach extended far beyond its shores. Scattered walls, terraces, and artifacts lie partially buried, telling a story of human ingenuity and adaptation lost to time. Some researchers suggest that the organization of these ruins hints at a civilization that may have shared knowledge across regions, leaving behind only tantalizing remnants beneath the waves. Texts from ancient India describe Dwarka as a maritime hub of immense wealth and cultural influence, hinting at an urban complexity that modern archaeology struggles to fully explain. The Mahabharata and other epics recount its streets lined with gold, bustling harbours, and markets filled with merchants from distant lands. Its coastal position offered access to rivers and the Arabian Sea, facilitating trade, cultural exchange, and the potential spread of technological knowledge across regions. While these literary descriptions cannot serve as proof, the convergence with submerged evidence suggests that Dwarka may have been more than legend, a city of planning, commerce, and societal sophistication. Scientific teams investigating regional maritime geology were startled when sonar scans revealed linear stone formations suggestive of deliberate human construction. From diver surveys to side-scan sonar and magnetometer readings, investigators painstakingly mapped terraces and aligned stone blocks, gradually revealing outlines of streets, walls, and possible communal spaces. The precision of these arrangements contrasted sharply with natural formations, hinting at the careful organization of a society capable of urban design. For theorists exploring the lost global civilization idea, the findings at Dwarka serve as a compelling clue that advanced knowledge may have existed far earlier and over wider distances than previously acknowledged. Foundations of walls and alignments of blocks point to organized construction, suggesting streets, enclosures, and perhaps ceremonial spaces designed with intention. Some terraces intersect at right angles, while other features form rectangular platforms reminiscent of public or religious areas. Limestone blocks and sandstone foundations, smoothed and carefully fitted, indicate the labour of skilled workers under coordinated oversight. Even as marine sediment partially obscures the ruins, the geometric precision endures, raising the possibility that similar principles of urban planning may have been applied across distant communities, hinting at a broader network of shared knowledge. Recovered pottery shards, anchors, and carved objects indicate daily life, trade, and possibly ritual practice, implying the settlement was active and structured rather than transient. Pottery fragments show evidence of storage, cooking, and artistic expression, while anchors and docking stones reflect frequent maritime activity. Carved stones hint at religious or symbolic practices, suggesting the inhabitants combined practical, social, and spiritual life in a complex urban setting. Each artifact, fragmentary though it may be, contributes to an image of Dwarka as a community with sustained organization and communication, possibly echoing principles that connected other contemporary societies. Radiocarbon dating and sediment analysis place parts of the site in the late Holocene, though uncertainties leave open the possibility that some structures are older still. Layers of silt and sand, constantly reshaped by tides and currents, obscure much of the evidence, making precise dating challenging. Nevertheless, comparisons with other submerged sites suggest Dwarka as part of a broader phenomenon of coastal settlements lost to rising seas. This observation encourages speculation that early humans developed coordinated maritime urban centres simultaneously in multiple regions, potentially reflecting widespread knowledge and shared techniques. The apparent geometric precision of the streets and block arrangements hints at urban planning, reflecting civic organisation rarely seen in settlements of the same period. Straight pathways, parallel alignments and regular terraces suggest foresight in design, possibly balancing residential, ceremonial and commercial needs. Such planning implies centralised oversight or shared construction methods, hinting at societal structures capable of coordinating large-scale projects. Observers who consider Dwarka in the context of other submerged cities note patterns that could indicate a common architectural knowledge, one that may have extended across regions now separated by rising seas. Epic narratives recount Dwarka's grandeur, weaving descriptions of towering walls and bustling harbours into stories that may preserve faint echoes of real urban life. These texts emphasise both physical features and social organisation, describing marketplaces, artisans, scholars, and maritime activity. While scholars urge caution, the alignment between narrative detail and archaeological traces strengthens the argument for a city of significant complexity. It's possible that these stories, preserved through oral tradition and later writing, reflect a collective memory of urban life and sophisticated societal practices long erased from the physical record. Stone anchors and docking remains reveal the inhabitants' command of seafaring, suggesting a network of trade and communication that extended far beyond local shores. The presence of such maritime infrastructure indicates that Dwarka was not isolated, but instead engaged in commerce and interaction with distant coastal regions. Knowledge of tides, currents and navigational practices would have been essential for these connections. If Dwarka's maritime activity paralleled that of other early coastal civilizations, it hints at a broader exchange of techniques and cultural elements that some theorists associate with a lost global network of knowledge. When juxtaposed with sunken settlements in the Mediterranean and Southeast Asia, Dwarka's layout and artifacts form part of a pattern that some researchers interpret as evidence of widespread technological or cultural knowledge. Stone arrangements, terraces and harbour constructions in geographically distant sites display surprising similarities in design and function. While direct connections remain speculative, the recurrence of these features suggests that early human communities may have shared architectural solutions, maritime practices, and perhaps symbolic traditions across great distances, leaving subtle evidence now partially submerged and fragmented. If Dwarka's design and maritime sophistication were mirrored elsewhere, it raises questions about shared knowledge and the potential scope of early civilizations across continents. Coordinated urban layouts, artifact similarity, and advanced seafaring imply that societies of the time may have possessed technical and organizational skills previously unrecognized. Even if only fragmentary evidence survives, the possibility that Dwarka was part of a broader prehistoric network challenges conventional timelines, suggesting that early human ingenuity may have reached a scale and complexity we are only beginning to glimpse. The echoes of Dwarka's streets and harbours linger in the water, whispering of a civilization whose knowledge and influence may have reached farther than any historical record has yet revealed. The Yonaguni Monument, Underwater Enigma. Patterns etched in stone emerge beneath the currents, and the enigmatic terraces of Yonaguni invite questions about who might have shaped them and why. Stretching along the seabed off the coast of southern Japan, the monument presents flat plains, sharp angles, and structures that seem almost deliberate in their geometry. Some researchers suggest these formations are more than natural rock. They might be the remnants of a civilization that predates known history, evidence of technical knowledge long vanished beneath rising seas. The precision of certain terraces and stepped surfaces sparks curiosity, hinting at organized labor and an architectural vision that could have been replicated elsewhere in the prehistoric world. In the mid-1980s, diver Kiichiro Aratake documented angular formations that immediately drew attention for their uncanny resemblance to man-made structures. Initially, the stone terraces were thought to be a natural anomaly, but careful photography and mapping revealed lines, steps, and flat surfaces arranged in ways rarely seen in typical underwater rock formations. As more divers explored the site, the sense of deliberate planning became harder to dismiss. Even partial exposure through sediment and marine growth revealed the possibility of streets, platforms, or communal spaces, suggesting a level of sophistication that challenges conventional understanding of prehistoric coastal societies. Flat plains, sharp corners, and staircase-like formations suggest deliberate design, though the ocean has softened their contours over millennia. Measurements show that some terraces extend tens of meters and align at angles, suggesting intentional layout rather than random fracturing. Steps and platforms rise in sequence, their edges worn smooth by time and water, yet retaining an unusual regularity. Scholars and divers alike marvel at the apparent symmetry, questioning whether this represents an early understanding of proportion or geometry. Even fragments of what might be walls or enclosures hint at organization and planning, leaving observers to wonder if these structures are echoes of a city lost to the sea. Experts debate whether tectonic pressure, erosion, or human intervention created the monument's distinctive lines, a puzzle that challenges conventional geology. Some argue that natural processes like jointing, faulting, and fracturing could produce angular formations, while others highlight features that appear too precise or too consistent to be purely geological. Sediment deposits suggest long-term submersion, and minor marine growth obscures subtle details, complicating definitive interpretation. Yet, the combination of terraces, steps, and flat surfaces invites questions about whether human hands, perhaps guided by cultural or ceremonial purpose, played a role in shaping what we now see. Nearby stone outcrops and peculiar markings hint at intentional shaping, offering fragments of a story that may extend beyond what the eye can discern. Certain flat surfaces bear grooves and indentations that could have been used for alignment, construction, or even ritual purposes. Carvings resembling polygons or terraces appear intermittently across the site, though centuries underwater have eroded their sharpness. These remnants of human activity, or at least what may be interpreted as such, give an impression of planning and design, suggesting that the creators understood the landscape and adapted it to serve social, cultural, or practical needs. Coastal settlements in prehistoric Japan indicate that advanced communities once thrived nearby, perhaps capable of constructing terraces and platforms that survive only underwater. Archaeological evidence from the Ryukyu Islands shows organized villages, fishing networks, and early maritime activity that may contextualize Yonaguni. While no definitive connection exists, the presence of these settlements demonstrates that early humans had both the skills and knowledge to engage with complex coastal environments. The monument may therefore be a reflection of human ingenuity at a time when such feats were rare, hinting at broader capabilities that are otherwise lost to history. Explorers repeatedly note unusual symmetry, right angles, and stepped surfaces, recording measurements that hint at a purposeful layout beneath the waves. Divers describe the sensation of navigating spaces that feel constructed, as if moving through streets or terraces designed for a society now vanished. Mapping efforts reveal repetitive patterns and alignments, suggesting intentional organization rather than haphazard erosion. Observations of vertical walls and angular corners contrast with surrounding rock, reinforcing the notion that these structures might have been adapted for social, ceremonial, or maritime functions, leaving a faint but persistent impression of conscious human activity. When examined alongside submerged sites across the world, Yonaguni's geometry echoes patterns found in distant prehistoric settlements, raising questions of shared knowledge. Sites in the Mediterranean, Southeast Asia, and South Asia display terraces, platforms, and urban layouts that bear similarities in alignment and scale. While independent development is possible, the recurrence of comparable features across far-flung regions suggests that ancient societies may have possessed comparable architectural strategies and possibly even exchanged techniques over considerable distances. For theorists, this hints at the possibility of a network of sophisticated knowledge long lost to the rising seas. Some researchers propose ceremonial or administrative purposes, imagining spaces designed for gatherings, rituals, or maritime observation now lost to the ocean. The terraces could have served as meeting places, observation platforms, or staging areas for coastal activities. Carvings and grooves, whether functional or symbolic, suggest cognitive planning and social coordination. Even if the evidence is fragmentary, the possibility of structured human activity encourages reflection on how knowledge and culture may have been transmitted, shared, or preserved in ways that survive, only as submerged echoes of an ancient civilization. Geologists argue for natural processes, while archaeologists point to anomalies inconsistent with erosion, leaving the monument suspended between nature and human ingenuity. Scientific debate remains unresolved, with some emphasizing fracturing and sedimentation, while others note the monument's angular consistency and parallel terraces as suggestive of deliberate shaping. This tension between natural and human origin is what gives Yonaguni its enigmatic quality, inviting speculation without definitive proof. For those exploring theories of a lost global civilization, the ambiguity itself becomes a tantalizing clue, hinting at skills and knowledge beyond the conventional archaeological record. If the terraces are man-made, they hint at a level of architectural skill and organizational knowledge that may connect Yonaguni to other advanced prehistoric communities worldwide. Alignment, proportionality, and apparent planning suggest familiarity with geometry, civic coordination, and possibly ritual design. Whether or not it was part of a broader network, the monument challenges assumptions about the abilities of prehistoric societies and their understanding of construction and urban organization. It also raises the tantalizing possibility that other, now submerged sites may have existed, preserving similar knowledge beneath the waves and waiting to be rediscovered. The sharp edges and deliberate angles of Yonaguni linger like a whisper from a forgotten civilization, daring us to decipher the intelligence buried beneath the sea. Megalithic engineering at Pumapunku. Massive stone blocks lie in quiet testament to skills that seem almost impossible for their time, hinting at knowledge that may have reached far beyond the Andes. Spread across the high plateau of western Bolivia, Pumapunku presents a labyrinth of terraces, platforms, and enormous megaliths that defy conventional explanations for their construction. The precision of each block, cut with exacting angles and smooth surfaces, immediately captures the attention of archaeologists and enthusiasts alike. Some theorists suggest that such expertise could indicate a shared knowledge system spanning continents, evidence of a prehistoric civilization whose reach and technical ability might have been far greater than previously imagined. The site challenges assumptions about the capabilities of early societies, inviting speculation about the origins and methods of its builders. Early explorers arriving at Pumapunku were immediately struck by the precise cuts and geometric regularity of blocks scattered across the plateau, provoking awe and puzzlement alike. When first mapped and photographed, the stones appeared almost impossibly uniform, with edges aligned to fractions of a degree. The initial impressions gave rise to countless debates. Were these accidental fractures from seismic activity, or were they the result of meticulous human planning? Photographs revealed blocks of unusual size arranged in linear sequences, some forming terraces that suggest deliberate planning. The more the site was studied, the more it defied conventional understanding, leaving early observers to grapple with the possibility of advanced prehistoric engineering. Some stones weigh over 100 tons, perfectly squared and arranged, defying easy explanation of how ancient builders could have transported them across rugged terrain. Many of these monolithic blocks measure several meters in length, width, and height, and their sheer weight raises questions about the logistics of moving and positioning them. Unlike smaller building stones, these megaliths would have required careful organization, labor, and ingenuity, yet no direct evidence of the mechanisms used has survived. The combination of weight, precision, and placement creates an enduring puzzle, one that has fascinated archaeologists and theorists, seeking to understand whether such feats could have been accomplished by conventional prehistoric methods or hint at knowledge now lost to time. Close examination reveals interlocking joints, right angles, and smooth planes that suggest techniques far more sophisticated than typical stone shaping of the era. Stones are not only enormous, but also intricately fashioned to fit together with minimal gaps, using methods that appear almost mechanical in their precision. Channels and grooves allow blocks to interlock with other stones in ways that would have required careful planning, measurement, and skill. The perfection of these cuts implies tools and techniques that remain speculative, as no evidence of the specific instruments used has been found. Even modern builders struggle to replicate such exactitude without advanced machinery, leaving a lingering sense of wonder and mystery over the abilities of the original constructors. Tiny grooves and parallel striations hint at tools now lost to history, leaving modern researchers to speculate how such precise shaping was achieved without advanced machinery. Marks on the stone suggest repeated abrasion or chiseling, yet the uniformity and alignment indicate methods that go beyond simple hammering. These traces, while subtle, provide tantalizing clues about the techniques employed, hinting at a level of technical knowledge that challenges assumptions about prehistoric societies. Whether through primitive engineering ingenuity or knowledge passed down from an earlier forgotten culture, the evidence raises profound questions about the reach and sophistication of the builders of Pumapunku. The placement of terraces, platforms, and aligned stones conveys a deliberate design, possibly serving ceremonial, administrative, or astronomical purposes beyond immediate understanding. Patterns emerge in the layout, suggesting that the arrangement of stones was not random, but carefully considered to fulfill social or spiritual functions. Some blocks appear oriented along specific lines, hinting at potential astronomical alignments or symbolic purposes. The sequence of terraces and steps may have created spaces for communal gatherings, rituals, or civic administration. Though the exact function is lost to time, the careful planning suggests a society capable of coordinated effort and complex architectural vision, leaving modern observers to ponder the intentions behind each cut and placement. Within the Tiwanaku heartland, Pumapunku stands apart, its technical mastery surpassing surrounding structures and suggesting a specialized knowledge preserved by a select few. While other buildings and ceremonial sites in the region demonstrate skill, none approach the scale or precision of Pumapunku. The contrast invites reflection on how knowledge may have been concentrated, perhaps maintained within elite groups or specialized guilds. The sheer effort required to quarry, shape, and position each block implies organizational hierarchy, planning, and social coordination, hinting at a civilization with an understanding of engineering and geometry far exceeding what is usually attributed to its period. When viewed alongside ancient complexes worldwide, Pumapunku shares remarkable parallels in block shaping, alignment, and proportional design that invite speculation about shared knowledge or parallel innovation. Stones with interlocking joints, terraces aligned to cardinal points, and precisely cut blocks appear in disparate regions, from Machu Picchu to submerged Mediterranean sites. While independent development is possible, the repetition of certain techniques suggests that some form of knowledge, whether coincidental or transmitted, may have existed across early civilizations. For theorists studying lost global civilizations, Pumapunku offers a tangible example of engineering mastery that resonates with similar feats across the ancient world. Researchers have proposed that the terraces and platforms may have been stages for ritual observances or public gatherings, their full function lost to time, but their design remarkably intentional. Some terraces might have served as ceremonial platforms, while others appear arranged to guide movement or display objects of cultural significance. The geometric regularity hints at careful planning, potentially tied to social, religious, or astronomical practices. Though no definitive records survive, the alignment, repetition, and refinement of the stonework suggest that the builders had clear purposes in mind, blending function with precision in ways that continue to inspire speculation and awe among modern scholars. Questions persist about how these colossal stones were lifted, aligned, and interlocked with such precision, leaving a legacy of ingenuity that continues to defy conventional explanation. No ramps, pulleys, or lifting devices have been discovered, yet the arrangement of stones demonstrates mastery over both material and scale. Some theorists propose sophisticated techniques lost to history, while others suggest unknown methods of moving and shaping massive blocks. The unresolved engineering questions form the core of Pumapunku's allure, positioning it as both a monument to human capability and a profound mystery that continues to challenge assumptions about prehistoric societies. If the engineering of Pumapunku reflects knowledge unattainable by typical prehistoric societies, it becomes a possible clue pointing toward a wider network of advanced civilizations long erased from the record. Its terraces, massive stones, and precise cuts may represent more than localized achievement, hinting at principles of construction, geometry, and organization that could connect it conceptually with other enigmatic sites around the world. For those investigating evidence of a lost global civilization, Pumapunku stands as a stark reminder that skill, ingenuity, and architectural understanding may have existed in ways largely hidden or forgotten, leaving only the monuments themselves as a testament. Each precisely cut stone at Pumapunku stands as a silent witness, hinting at knowledge that may have once spanned continents and vanished from memory. Cyclopean stones of Sacsayhuaman. The walls of Sacsayhuaman rise with a silent authority, each massive stone meticulously fitted, hinting at techniques and knowledge now forgotten. Perched above the city of Cusco in Peru, the site presents a staggering series of terraces and zigzagging walls constructed from enormous boulders, some weighing over 100 tons. Every block seems deliberately shaped to interlock with its neighbours, forming an enduring structure resistant to the frequent earthquakes that jolt the Andes. Scholars and theorists alike have speculated that such precision may reflect skills and understanding lost to history, offering a glimpse into engineering knowledge that could have existed far earlier than commonly assumed. The sheer scale of the construction invites awe while raising questions about the civilization or civilizations capable of such mastery. Explorers climbing the steep terraces were immediately struck by the sheer size and complexity of the interlocking stones, an engineering feat that defied casual observation. From the moment travellers first approached the site, the walls communicated a silent power, suggesting meticulous planning and the coordinated efforts of large groups. The precise fit of each stone, despite irregular shapes, creates a sense of harmony that contrasts with the rugged natural landscape. Witnesses have described a sensation of walking through a monument that seems simultaneously human-made and impossibly perfect, each step provoking wonder at the knowledge required to design and assemble such structures. Some blocks weigh more than 100 tons, their irregular forms shaped with astonishing accuracy, challenging assumptions about what ancient societies could achieve. These monumental stones, quarried from locations several kilometres away, required transportation and placement with no evidence of modern machinery. Their massive weight alone would overwhelm conventional labour, yet the alignment and balance of each boulder reveal a sophisticated understanding of physics, leverage, and human organisation. The combination of irregular shapes and perfect fitting raises questions about techniques lost to time, leaving the walls a silent testimony to craftsmanship that modern engineering struggles to replicate. Viewed closely, the stones appear to embrace one another in perfect alignment, with no mortar holding them, yet resistant to centuries of seismic activity. The interlocking precision of Sacsayhuaman's walls is particularly striking. Even the smallest stones fit seamlessly into larger structures, absorbing shocks and distributing pressure in ways that prevent collapse. This architectural resilience suggests intentional design far beyond mere piling of boulders, demonstrating knowledge of weight distribution and structural stability that was both practical and possibly symbolic. Such precision hints at a civilization that may have possessed not only physical skill but also advanced conceptual understanding of construction principles. Bevels, grooves, and polished surfaces suggest methods of carving and smoothing that modern researchers continue to study, with no definitive explanation yet found. Close inspection reveals faint parallel striations and cuts that imply systematic shaping, yet the tools used remain uncertain. The stone surfaces are extraordinarily even, with edges and corners sharpened to remarkable accuracy. Some theories propose the use of hammerstones, bronze implements, or techniques now lost, but none fully account for the consistency and sophistication observed. These subtle details provide a tantalizing window into methods that are at once accessible and profoundly mysterious, leaving scholars to speculate about knowledge that may have spanned cultures or even continents. Transporting these colossal stones from distant quarries to the mountaintop required coordination and ingenuity that remains difficult to replicate even today. The logistical challenge of moving hundreds of tons across uneven terrain would have demanded elaborate planning, likely involving ropes, ramps, and organised teams. Despite extensive study, no evidence has survived to explain exactly how ancient builders achieved this feat. The precision of placement, combined with the weight and irregularity of the stones, continues to challenge modern understanding. It is a testament to human innovation, yet one that raises deeper questions about whether these skills were locally developed or inherited from earlier, now lost traditions of construction. The zigzagging walls and layered terraces convey intentional design, hinting at functional, ceremonial, or symbolic purposes carefully considered by the builders. The pattern of the walls, which alternate direction in dramatic angles, may have served defensive purposes, aesthetic considerations, or ritual significance. Terraces create platforms that could have accommodated gatherings or ceremonies, suggesting that form and function were tightly intertwined. Each level of construction seems to reflect both practical and cultural objectives, illustrating an architectural sophistication that communicates not only strength but also meaning. The careful arrangement reinforces the impression that Pumapunku and Sacsayhuaman may be part of a broader pattern of megalithic ingenuity. Within the broader Inca heartland, Sacsayhuaman stands apart, its monumental scale and precision suggesting knowledge inherited from earlier civilizations or specialized groups. While Cusco contains smaller, more conventional structures, this fortress-like complex towers above the city, its walls unrivaled in both size and technical mastery. Some researchers posit that the builders may have drawn on knowledge passed down through generations, possibly reaching back to pre-Inca cultures or even global networks of megalithic expertise. The contrast between Sacsayhuaman and the surrounding architecture reinforces the idea that the site embodies specialized knowledge, preserved and executed by a select cadre of skilled individuals. Similarities emerge when comparing Sacsayhuaman with Pumapunku and Machu Picchu, revealing patterns of stone manipulation and alignment that invite broader speculation. Across continents and cultures, megalithic construction often shares traits: precisely cut stone, interlocking joints, and alignment with topographical or astronomical features. Such parallels suggest that advanced techniques were not isolated, but may reflect a widespread understanding of architectural principles, either through independent innovation or subtle transmission. Sacsayhuaman fits this enigmatic pattern, providing a tangible example of construction that echoes other sophisticated sites, all of which challenge conventional timelines of human capability. If the techniques demonstrated here were beyond conventional prehistoric capabilities, they may point toward lost knowledge that could have influenced distant cultures. The interlocking walls, enormous stones, and careful layout imply intelligence and coordination that transcend ordinary expectations. For theorists exploring evidence of a lost global civilization, Sacsayhuaman stands as a compelling case, a place where human ingenuity, social organization, and technical mastery converge in ways that hint at knowledge long obscured. Its construction encourages reflection on the possibility of earlier global networks of skill, imagination, and expertise that may have been forgotten over millennia. Despite centuries of study, questions remain. How were these massive stones lifted, carved, and interlocked so precisely, leaving few traces of the methods employed? Modern attempts to replicate the walls highlight the extraordinary difficulty of such work, suggesting that builders possessed insights and techniques that remain unknown. Each stone, carefully positioned and precisely shaped, reflects an understanding of materials and forces that remains remarkable even today. The lingering mysteries continue to inspire speculation and investigation, reinforcing the notion that Sacsayhuaman's secrets may offer glimpses of a wider, forgotten narrative of human achievement. Every massive stone of Sacsayhuaman whispers a story of ingenuity lost to time, hinting at knowledge that might have stretched across continents. Astronomical alignment at Newgrange. At Newgrange, sunlight pierces the passage tomb with uncanny precision, illuminating the inner chamber in a fleeting spectacle that hints at knowledge long forgotten. Constructed over 5,000 years ago, this Neolithic monument in County Meath, Ireland, stands as a testament to the sophistication of prehistoric societies. Its massive mound, encircled by an array of standing stones, conceals a passage and chamber aligned so that the rising sun on the winter solstice floods the interior with light. The precision of this alignment challenges assumptions about the observational skills and architectural knowledge of early communities. Scholars and theorists have long speculated that the builders of Newgrange may have inherited knowledge from earlier civilizations, knowledge that could indicate the remnants of a global understanding lost to time. Early archaeologists approaching the massive earthen mound were struck by its perfect circular form and the intricate layout of standing stones surrounding the site. The curbstones, many adorned with intricate carvings, encircle the mound like sentinels guarding an ancient secret. Visitors immediately notice the contrast between the seemingly simple exterior and the complex inner passage, which stretches 19 meters into the heart of the tomb. The sense of symmetry and intentionality is palpable, suggesting not only functional design but also an aesthetic or symbolic vision, carefully realized by its builders. It is a site where stone, earth, and light converge to create a spectacle that seems almost otherworldly. Once every year at the winter solstice, a narrow beam of light travels along the 19-metre passage, bathing the inner chamber in a golden glow. For several minutes, sunlight penetrates the carefully constructed entrance, illuminating the back wall and revealing the small recesses carved into the chamber's interior. This celestial phenomenon has fascinated researchers for centuries, prompting questions about how such precise alignment was achieved without modern instruments. The alignment's accuracy, within mere centimetres, suggests careful observation of the sun's movement over multiple generations, requiring both patience and an advanced understanding of seasonal cycles. The corbelled roof rises in deliberate layers, creating a stable interior that perfectly channels the light while maintaining structural integrity across millennia. Constructed with overlapping stones, the roof distributes weight evenly, preventing collapse despite the immense pressure from the mound above. This technique demonstrates both practical engineering and a deep understanding of materials, which, when combined with the solar alignment, implies a dual mastery of the terrestrial and celestial realms. Every layer of stone contributes to the monument's stability, while allowing sunlight to penetrate in a controlled and spectacular way. Spirals, lozenges, and abstract motifs carved into the curbstones suggest symbolic or astronomical significance that may have guided the builder's understanding of time and cycles. The repetitive geometric patterns evoke both rhythm and order, hinting at a connection between the earthly realm and celestial observations. Some carvings appear to mimic solar movements or lunar phases, raising the possibility that the site functioned as a calendar or ritual observatory. While interpretations vary, the careful placement of symbols reinforces the idea that Newgrange was not merely a tomb, but also a centre of cultural, ceremonial, and astronomical knowledge. Transporting massive stones from distant quarries and assembling them into a precise mound reflects a level of organisation and technical skill that challenges assumptions about Neolithic capability. The builders moved and positioned stones weighing several tons with remarkable accuracy, raising questions about the tools, labour systems, and planning methods employed. Experimental archaeology has attempted to replicate these feats, yet even with modern techniques, duplicating the construction at Newgrange proves daunting. The scale and precision suggest that the monument may have been constructed under a highly organised system, possibly supported by knowledge transmitted across generations or regions. The alignment may have marked the renewal of the sun, signalling critical agricultural periods or ceremonial events observed by the Neolithic community. Winter solstice celebrations likely held profound significance, as the rebirth of the sun would dictate planting cycles and symbolise continuity of life. The brief illumination of the inner chamber may have been interpreted as a divine or mystical manifestation, reinforcing social cohesion and spiritual authority. Such integration of celestial phenomena with human activity implies sophisticated observational skills and cultural frameworks that could have enabled knowledge exchange across distant communities. Within prehistoric Ireland, Newgrange stands among a network of monuments that demonstrate sophisticated planning, perhaps part of a broader tradition of astronomical observation. Nearby passage tombs, such as Noath and Douth, exhibit similar attention to orientation and celestial phenomena, suggesting a cultural emphasis on harmonising construction with the cycles of the sun and moon. The consistency of design principles across sites implies either shared knowledge or inherited techniques, possibly pointing toward a broader system of megalithic understanding that transcended local communities. In this context, Newgrange emerges as a pinnacle of Neolithic ingenuity and potential evidence of widespread knowledge networks. Similar phenomena appear at Maeshowe, Stonehenge, and other megalithic sites, suggesting a possible shared understanding of the sun's movements across distant regions. The architectural parallels highlight an enduring human fascination with celestial cycles and their integration into monumental construction. From the Orkney Islands to the plains of southern England, builders achieved remarkable precision in aligning stones with solar or lunar events. These connections hint at a transmission of knowledge that may have crossed geographical and cultural boundaries, raising the possibility of early networks of observation and design that could prefigure later civilizations. If such precision was achieved without written records or advanced tools, it may indicate lost knowledge preserved through careful observation and oral tradition spanning generations. The ability to track solar movement, calculate angles, and execute monumental construction with such fidelity implies a conceptual framework that is both empirical and sophisticated. The mystery deepens when considering that no direct evidence survives detailing the methods employed, leaving researchers to infer techniques from the enduring results. Newgrange, therefore, stands as both an archaeological wonder and a tantalizing hint of knowledge that might have influenced other cultures across the globe. Researchers continue to puzzle over the exact methods used to measure angles, orient the passage, and construct the corbelled roof, leaving the monument shrouded in enigma. Experiments with plumb lines, shadows, and sighting tools offer partial explanations, yet no definitive method fully accounts for the alignment's accuracy. The Neolithic builders' achievements suggest a meticulous process of observation, calculation, and construction, likely refined over decades. The interplay of astronomy, engineering, and symbolism creates a multi-dimensional puzzle that continues to captivate modern investigators, hinting at a depth of knowledge that could extend far beyond the confines of Ireland. A solitary beam of sunlight entering Newgrange each winter solstice seems to carry secrets of the cosmos, frozen in stone yet forgotten by human memory. Celestial observation at Nabta Playa. Long before written records, some humans were observing the sky with precision that defies expectations, charting the movements of stars and the sun with methods now lost to time. In what is today the Nubian desert, patterns emerge from the sand that suggest not only ceremonial intent, but also a deep understanding of celestial cycles. Generations of observers may have calculated solstices and star positions, passing knowledge down orally while constructing markers that align with these events. This evidence raises the possibility that such astronomical insight was part of a broader interconnected tradition, hinting at advanced understanding shared across distant lands, perhaps even predating what conventional histories acknowledge. The very placement of these markers invites questions about the knowledge, coordination, and societal organisation required to achieve such precision at this early stage in human history. Archaeologists were astonished to find a pattern of upright markers and circular alignments scattered across the plain, their arrangement appearing deliberate rather than random. The desert sands conceal low mounds and stones whose orientations reveal more than the casual visitor might perceive, suggesting a layered system of observation and record-keeping. Excavations uncovered subtle variations in size and placement that imply awareness of the horizon, solar motion, and stellar positions, demonstrating that these early communities were not only surviving in harsh climates, but also thinking on an extraordinary temporal scale. Each discovery raises further questions. How were these positions calculated, and what methods allowed such consistency across generations without formal mathematics or writing? At specific times of the year, the sun's rays touch precise points, illuminating markers that align with the summer solstice and particular constellations, as though the desert itself were a celestial observatory. Certain star positions coincide with elongated arrangements, while other stones trace curves that correspond with lunar cycles, forming a network of observations capable of tracking astronomical events. These alignments suggest careful observation over centuries, hinting at ritual practices tied to seasonal changes, agricultural cycles, or migratory patterns. Scholars are left to wonder whether this knowledge was purely local, or if similar observational systems were mirrored across distant regions, forming a network of early astronomical understanding that spanned continents. The organisation of these formations, varying in diameter and number of markers, points to intentional design rather than simple ceremonial decoration. The circular arrangements appear to encode information in both geometry and orientation, balancing ritual significance with practical observation. Stones set at specific intervals may have allowed precise sightlines for solstice tracking, while larger configurations could have indicated social or spiritual hierarchies. The scale of construction and the apparent integration of celestial patterns raise questions about the social structure necessary to coordinate such undertakings, implying a level of sophistication that challenges assumptions about prehistoric desert communities. Nearby burials, often accompanied by pottery, beads, and ceremonial artifacts, suggest that understanding the heavens was closely intertwined with spiritual and social life. Some graves align with specific markers, hinting at a symbolic link between life, death, and the cycles of the sun and stars. These connections imply that observation and ritual were not separate endeavours, but part of a unified worldview in which celestial patterns influence practical decisions and religious expression. The meticulous care evident in the burials mirrors the precision of the alignments, reinforcing the idea that Nabta Playa functioned as both a sacred and scientific landscape. Moving massive elements into place without metal tools, wheeled transport, or written plans demonstrates remarkable ingenuity and cooperation. Stones weighing multiple tons were shaped with primitive tools and maneuvered into positions with astonishing accuracy. Such feats suggest a sophisticated knowledge of leverage, geometry, and labour organisation, transmitted orally through generations. The coordination required for both measurement and physical movement indicates a society capable of long-term planning, collective effort, and shared understanding of abstract concepts, a level of complexity that hints at cognitive capacities often associated with more advanced civilizations. Examining Nabta Playa alongside contemporaneous sites across Africa and the Near East reveals recurring patterns in alignment and construction, suggesting that early knowledge may have spread over great distances. Similarities in solstice orientation, circular arrangements, and symbolic motifs raise the possibility of networks of observation or shared cultural ideas. While no direct evidence confirms communication between these communities, the parallels are striking enough to provoke speculation about a broader, perhaps global system of early astronomical knowledge. These patterns hint that Nabta Playa may have been part of a tradition that extended far beyond the immediate desert. The arrangement of markers may have served as a practical calendar, allowing the community to anticipate seasonal changes critical for migration, water management, and ceremonial events. Stone placements could indicate the timing of rainy seasons, or the appearance of certain stars signalling the arrival of livestock or plant cycles. Such functionality would require repeated observation over generations, careful measurement, and the oral transmission of methods. The integration of practical and ceremonial uses reflects a sophisticated approach to living in harmony with environmental cycles, suggesting that celestial knowledge was a cornerstone of survival and cultural identity. Engravings on some stones, including depictions of cattle and abstract geometric patterns, may encode astronomical knowledge alongside spiritual symbolism. The motifs could represent constellations, solstice markers, or calendrical systems, blending observation with ritual. Such a dual-purpose design demonstrates that these communities were capable of conceptual abstraction, encoding complex information in both physical arrangement and symbolic representation. The presence of these engravings alongside precise alignments invites further questions. How were these symbols interpreted, and did they form part of an early educational system for transmitting celestial knowledge? The precision achieved without writing or advanced instruments suggests a highly organized oral tradition capable of systematic observation. Techniques may have been taught through apprenticeship, ritual practice, or communal observation, passing knowledge across generations with remarkable fidelity. If these methods were mirrored at distant sites, it hints at a network of shared practices and knowledge, forming a foundation of understanding that predates written history. The implications are profound. Early humans may have possessed sophisticated scientific awareness that modern timelines often overlook, leaving a tantalizing trail of evidence for researchers to piece together. How these early astronomers coordinated construction, calculated alignments, and transmitted their methods remains unknown, leaving a lingering sense of enigma. Even the most detailed archaeological studies can only approximate the knowledge and intent behind the arrangements. Each excavation uncovers new artifacts or alignments, yet the full picture of how and why these markers were constructed eludes us. The mystery endures because Nabta Playa represents both an archaeological site and a puzzle, a record of human ingenuity that challenges assumptions about prehistoric capabilities and hints at connections that may stretch far beyond the desert sands. Silent and unyielding, Nabta Playa records the motions of distant stars and the whisper of knowledge that humanity may have almost forgotten. The megalithic temples of Malta. Some of humanity's earliest architects seem to possess knowledge that far exceeded what their tools and era might suggest, leaving behind structures that hint at extraordinary coordination and intent. On the small islands of Malta and Gozo, enormous limestone temples rise from the landscape, their construction dating back over 5,000 years, predating even the pyramids of Giza and Stonehenge. Each formation suggests a complex understanding of geometry, organisation, and perhaps astronomy, provoking speculation that such knowledge may not have been isolated but part of a wider network of early advanced civilizations. The precision of placement, the care in shaping massive blocks, and the alignment with celestial phenomena all hint at intelligence and planning far beyond what would be expected for this time period. For theorists, these temples form another thread in a tapestry of evidence suggesting that early humans may have shared knowledge across great distances, leaving an imprint of ingenuity that continues to mystify researchers. Excavations revealed a series of circular and semicircular chambers whose arrangement immediately confounded archaeologists, provoking questions about their purpose and the planning behind them. The layout of the temples is not uniform. Some complexes feature concentric circles within sanctuaries, while others present more irregular patterns that still follow precise geometric principles. Entranceways, corridors, and altars appear deliberately positioned, guiding visitors through spaces that may have been used for ritual or observation. These structures are remarkably consistent in their craftsmanship, indicating that builders followed established techniques that had been honed over generations. Such meticulous organisation sparks curiosity about the society behind the construction, how labour was coordinated, how knowledge was transmitted orally, and whether similar practices existed elsewhere during this same period. Shaping massive blocks of local limestone with simple tools required not only ingenuity, but careful observation, and the precision with which they were fitted together remains a remarkable feat. Stones weighing several tons were carved and moved without metal tools or wheeled transport, often joined so tightly that even a blade cannot fit between them. Some blocks were shaped with remarkable angular precision, implying an understanding of measurement and planning that seems extraordinary for the Neolithic era. The physical effort to extract, transport, and install these stones demonstrates advanced engineering skills and suggests that these early communities possessed knowledge and social cohesion sufficient to execute large-scale projects. Such craftsmanship invites speculation about the possibility of shared or inherited techniques from even earlier traditions, which may have crossed continents and inspired other monumental constructions. The careful curvature of walls and the symmetry of passageways imply deliberate design, with each chamber potentially serving both practical and ceremonial roles. Inner sanctuaries often sit within semicircular enclosures, suggesting that movement through these spaces was guided, perhaps during rituals, ceremonies, or astronomical observations. Walls are sometimes aligned to allow sunlight to illuminate specific features on solstices or equinoxes, indicating that design choices were influenced by more than aesthetic considerations. The intricate planning required for these shapes also implies knowledge of geometry, spatial reasoning, and collective decision-making. Observers have noted that no two temple complexes are identical, yet all share an underlying sophistication, hinting at a consistent understanding that may have been part of a wider knowledge system among Neolithic communities. Entrances and central points within these temples line up with the sun's position at solstices, suggesting that early observers may have integrated celestial cycles into their architectural vision. During the summer solstice, sunlight penetrates inner chambers, illuminating altars or carvings with precise timing, as though the builders intended to record seasonal cycles in stone. Other alignments may correspond with the rising or setting of specific stars, though interpretations remain speculative. Such precision implies careful long-term observation and the ability to translate astronomical knowledge into physical form, a remarkable achievement without written language or instruments. These alignments draw connections to similar practices in distant regions, hinting that early humans may have been developing parallel methods of observing the heavens, possibly as part of a shared prehistoric understanding. Inside some chambers, archaeologists uncovered figurines, altars, and pottery, whose placement suggests rituals or symbolic practices connected to the structure's orientation and function. Tiny statuettes, often of human or animal forms, appear alongside altars that may have been used in offerings or ceremonies. Pottery fragments suggest food or drink rituals, while their careful positioning near walls or central features implies intentionality rather than casual use. The combination of ritual artifacts with precisely aligned architecture hints at a sophisticated integration of spiritual life and observational knowledge. These objects suggest that the temples were not merely functional but served as centres of community and culture, where practical knowledge, social hierarchy, and belief systems intersected. Abstract patterns and engraved motifs, including spirals and animal forms, hint at symbolic systems that may have encoded knowledge about the heavens, the earth, or social structures. Spirals, concentric circles, and geometric motifs appear carved into altars and walls, their meanings still debated by researchers. Some suggest they reference lunar or solar cycles, while others propose symbolic narratives or records of ritual events. The combination of abstract symbols with architectural alignment demonstrates that these communities were capable of conceptual thinking, encoding complex information in both stone and space. Such designs reinforce the notion that knowledge in Neolithic Malta was multifaceted, combining observation, engineering, and symbolism in ways that resonate with other enigmatic ancient sites worldwide. Across continents, similar patterns of alignment, design, and ritual elements appear, provoking speculation about whether a broader tradition of advanced observation and construction once existed. Sites in Europe, Africa, and South America share principles of solstice alignment, circular planning, and monumental stonework, though separated by thousands of miles. Whether these similarities arose independently or were inspired by contact or a shared tradition remains uncertain, yet the parallels are striking enough to suggest that prehistoric humans were capable of achieving comparable sophistication in multiple regions. Malta's temples serve as a focal point for these connections, offering tangible evidence of ingenuity that may have reverberated far beyond the Mediterranean. The ability to move, shape, and position massive blocks with such precision implies an understanding of geometry, leverage, and labour coordination that seems unusually sophisticated for the era. Observers have noted that the stone's tight joints, angular cuts, and consistent alignment indicate meticulous measurement and skill. Such achievements would have required careful observation, communication, and the transmission of knowledge across generations. The engineering suggests more than local innovation. It hints at a continuity of understanding, perhaps reflecting principles that were shared, refined, or rediscovered over time in multiple regions. The precision challenges assumptions about what Neolithic societies could accomplish, with limited tools, and underscores the potential for lost knowledge in prehistoric civilizations. Taken together, the design, alignment, and craftsmanship of these temples suggest a knowledge system that may have been part of a wider, shared network of prehistoric understanding. While Malta's monuments are unique in scale and preservation, they resonate with the broader puzzle of early human achievement. If similar knowledge existed elsewhere, it raises questions about the origins, diffusion, and continuity of advanced skill, and whether these early societies were isolated or part of a larger, interconnected tradition. The implications are tantalizing, suggesting that what appears to be regional ingenuity could be evidence of a wider, prehistoric system of observation, construction, and ritual. Questions remain about why some structures are aligned in particular ways, how labour and knowledge were organised, and what information may have been lost over millennia. Researchers continue to debate whether certain arrangements served astronomical, ritual, or purely social functions. The absence of written records means that interpretation relies on careful study of the architecture, artifacts, and landscape context. Every excavation uncovers new anomalies or conformations, yet the complete understanding remains elusive. Each stone altar and alignment offers clues, but the overarching narrative of how such sophistication emerged and whether it connects to other early sites remains tantalizingly incomplete. Even today, the temple's silent chambers continue to intrigue scholars and visitors alike, offering glimpses of ingenuity and worldview that challenge conventional timelines of human advancement. Tourists walk among massive stones that have endured 5 millennia, and archaeologists trace their lines with instruments calibrated to millimeters. The combination of precise engineering, astronomical observation, and ritual complexity evokes questions about cultural memory, knowledge transmission, and human capability long before documented history. Malta's temples endure as reminders that human history is far richer and more mysterious than traditional narratives suggest, leaving a quiet impression of ingenuity and enigma. The megaliths of Malta stand as enduring enigmas, their origins and purposes whispering of a forgotten era whose knowledge may have spanned continents. Hidden voids of the Giza pyramid complex. Modern imaging techniques have exposed vast hidden voids within the Great Pyramid, revealing a complexity that has baffled archaeologists for decades. Beneath the familiar limestone exterior, these spaces remain largely inaccessible, their dimensions and purpose concealed from traditional excavation. The discovery has reignited debate over the sophistication of ancient Egyptian engineering, prompting questions about the knowledge and intent of those who built the pyramid. While the monument has long been admired for its scale and precision, these voids suggest there are still secrets held tightly within its core, secrets that hint at a deeper understanding of structure, weight, and design than previously imagined. Advanced scans of the pyramid's interior have uncovered previously invisible spaces, suggesting that its design held secrets far beyond the familiar corridors. Using high-energy particles called muons, scientists have created detailed images of the pyramid's inner architecture, revealing voids stretching tens of meters in length. These chambers appear as empty spaces within the solid masonry, yet their placement is far from random. Each void seems carefully integrated into the pyramid's internal geometry, provoking speculation that its construction required not only monumental effort, but also an advanced comprehension of mathematics and balance. The possibility that these hidden spaces were deliberately planned remains one of the most intriguing aspects of the discovery. The arrangement of massive limestone blocks around these voids indicates a precision in engineering that challenges conventional explanations of ancient construction methods. The blocks, some weighing tens of tons, fit together with remarkable exactness, leaving only minute gaps between them. Such precision would have required highly coordinated labour, intricate planning, and possibly techniques now lost to history. The placement of voids among these blocks raises further questions. Were they structural necessities, intentional reliefs to reduce stress on lower chambers, or perhaps components of a more enigmatic design? Scholars have debated the answers for years, yet no consensus has been reached, leaving the voids shrouded in both physical and conceptual mystery. Some theories propose that these chambers serve symbolic or ceremonial purposes, though their exact function remains entirely speculative. Ancient Egyptians invested enormous effort into aligning the pyramid with cardinal points and incorporating spiritual symbolism throughout its architecture. Hidden chambers might have played a role in these rituals, serving as conduits for light or air during specific celestial events, or acting as symbolic spaces representing passages to the afterlife. Others argue that they could have been repositories for sacred knowledge, inaccessible to most, known only to a select priestly class. Each theory adds layers to the mystery, inviting speculation about the intentions and worldview of a civilization capable of such monumental feats. Crafting such internal voids would have demanded sophisticated knowledge of weight distribution, stone cutting, and coordination on a scale rarely imagined for the period. The voids themselves are irregular in shape, yet appear integrated seamlessly with surrounding masonry, suggesting that ancient builders understood principles of load-bearing and stress relief that modern engineers still study. How such precise construction could have been achieved without metal machinery or modern measuring instruments remains a source of fascination. Every misaligned block, every subtle tilt, could have compromised the stability of the entire structure, yet the voids remain intact, hinting at an extraordinary mastery of architectural principles. Similarities in structural ingenuity appear in other ancient sites worldwide, hinting at a possible thread of advanced knowledge connecting distant civilizations. From the megalithic precision of Puma Punku to the Cyclopean walls of Sacsayhuaman, a pattern emerges. Cultures separated by thousands of kilometers and centuries often employed remarkably sophisticated techniques for their monumental constructions. Whether these similarities are coincidental, evidence of cultural diffusion, or traces of a lost shared understanding remains uncertain. The Great Pyramid's voids fit within this larger puzzle, suggesting that its creators may have possessed insights into architecture and engineering that transcend conventional timelines. Astronomical considerations may have influenced the placement of certain voids, aligning them with solar or stellar events that remain only partially understood. Scholars have long observed the precise orientation of the pyramid's chambers with the stars of Orion's belt and other celestial markers. The hidden voids could correspond to these alignments, perhaps designed to channel light, mark seasonal transitions, or reflect a cosmological worldview embedded in stone. This intersection of architecture and astronomy reinforces the idea that the builders were not only masterful engineers, but also keen observers of the heavens, incorporating patterns and alignments that remain challenging to interpret today. While small artifacts and traces have been discovered nearby, they provide more questions than answers about who built these hidden chambers and why. Pieces of pottery, fragments of tools and inscriptions hint at the labour and ritual activity surrounding the pyramid, yet nothing directly explains the void's existence. The absence of artifacts inside the spaces themselves leaves their purpose tantalizingly vague. Were they meant to remain empty, serving structural, symbolic or esoteric functions? Or were their contents removed or destroyed over millennia? Each unanswered question intensifies the sense of enigma, as if the pyramid itself is deliberately guarding its secrets. Organising labour and materials to execute such precise internal construction implies a level of societal complexity and planning that remains difficult to reconcile with traditional timelines. Tens of thousands of workers would have had to quarry, transport and position massive stones, all while ensuring that internal chambers aligned perfectly with the exterior. Coordinating this on the scale required for the pyramid suggests a society with exceptional administrative skill, engineering knowledge, and the ability to mobilize resources over decades. The hidden voids magnify this impression, indicating that the architects anticipated challenges and accounted for them with methods that remain elusive to modern understanding. Subtle irregularities in the void's dimensions have fueled speculation over whether they were intentional designs or byproducts of techniques now lost to history. Slight deviations in size or alignment could hint at deliberate design choices or experimental approaches to engineering that have no modern parallel. Each anomaly invites theorists to imagine purposes ranging from structural stress relief to symbolic representation, or even esoteric knowledge encoded in stone. The lack of a definitive explanation amplifies the suspense surrounding these spaces, emphasizing that the pyramid's internal landscape may hold answers to questions about ancient intelligence and ingenuity that are still beyond reach. Examining the interplay of hidden chambers, alignments and craftsmanship reveals a silent intelligence guiding the pyramid's construction in ways that defy explanation. Every aspect of the voids, its dimensions, placement and integration with the surrounding masonry, suggests careful planning and extraordinary foresight. Whether they served practical, symbolic or unknown purposes, these spaces embody a level of sophistication that hints at knowledge potentially shared across other ancient sites around the world. The voids transform the pyramid from a static monument into a dynamic puzzle, one whose solution continues to evade modern understanding. Within these silent chambers, the pyramid seems to guard the whispers of a civilization whose understanding of architecture and the cosmos may surpass anything yet recognized. The Piri Reis map, evidence of forgotten geography. In 1513, a delicate parchment chart surfaced, depicting coastlines with precision that defied the expectations of its era, hinting at geographic knowledge that may have originated long before recorded history. Its edges were frayed, the ink slightly faded, yet the details of Africa, Europe and the eastern coastline of South America were rendered with striking clarity. Scholars examining the map noted features that seemed impossibly accurate for the time, raising questions about the sources Piri Reis had used and whether remnants of an older, sophisticated understanding of the world had somehow endured through the centuries. The very existence of such a map challenges conventional timelines, suggesting a repository of knowledge far beyond what historians typically recognize. The Ottoman admiral Piri Reis compiled this map with careful annotation, referencing a collection of charts and travelers' accounts that spanned centuries. In his notes, he cited sailors' reports, Mediterranean maps, and even fragments of sources he described as ancient, though the details of these documents have long since disappeared. This layering of sources, combined with Reis' meticulous drafting, resulted in a map that harmonized disparate information into a single coherent image. Yet even with these known references, the map presents regions with astonishing accuracy, implying a foundation of observation and measurement that exceeds the documented capabilities of early 16th century cartographers. Embedded within its finely drawn contours are subtle indications of older, now lost maps, some of which may have been created in civilizations that predated classical antiquity. Certain lines and proportions do not correspond neatly to known medieval charts, hinting that Piri Reis accessed materials with origins perhaps thousands of years earlier. These vanished maps, whether maritime surveys or geographic codices, leave gaps in the historical record that continue to intrigue modern investigators. Each gap invites speculation, suggesting that fragments of a wider, global understanding may have survived in the hands of those who meticulously copied, translated, and transmitted them. Remarkably, the depiction of South America and Africa exhibits proportions and orientations that astonish contemporary observers who note that coastlines align with surprisingly modern measurements. The contours of Brazil's eastern seaboard, for instance, are drawn with subtle curves that suggest careful observation from the sea, while parts of West Africa appear rendered in a way that implies knowledge of coastal features difficult to reconcile with the limited exploration attributed to the period. These observations have led some theorists to propose that Piri Reis's sources contained information derived from a long-lost tradition of global navigation, preserved in fragments until reaching his hands. Certain coastal outlines, particularly near the southern extremities of continents, have sparked intense debate. The map appears to hint at the Antarctic coastline free of ice, centuries before its official discovery in 1820. While skeptics attribute this to imaginative extrapolation, the precision with which these southern regions are depicted suggests that the source material may have originated from actual observation. If so, it raises the possibility that unknown seafarers or a forgotten civilization once possessed the means and ambition to chart distant lands with a degree of accuracy previously thought impossible in the ancient world. Beyond its outlines, the Piri Reis map reveals sophistication in scale, orientation, and projection. Coastlines are drawn with proportions that correspond closely to modern measurements, while the relative positions of continents maintain a coherence that reflects an understanding of spherical geometry. Some experts argue that these technical achievements indicate access to advanced surveying techniques or astronomical calculation, both of which would be extraordinary for an era traditionally considered limited in geographic comprehension. The map, in this sense, functions not merely as a chart but as a window into a methodical approach to understanding the globe that may have existed long before recognized civilizations could produce it. Scholars have long speculated that Piri Reis drew from ancient sources now irretrievably lost, potentially including maps of Mediterranean, African, and even transoceanic origin. These sources may have been collected over centuries, passed from civilization to civilization, preserving knowledge that otherwise vanished in the absence of durable documentation. Hypotheses range from the plausible, charts compiled by early seafarers in antiquity, to the more speculative, suggesting that unknown civilizations possessed cartographic expertise surpassing any contemporaneous society. Each line on the map carries the potential trace of this hidden chain of knowledge, a silent testament to human ingenuity now largely forgotten. Comparisons with other ancient sites further complicate the mystery. Across the globe, civilizations have left evidence of precise astronomical observations, massive construction projects, and advanced engineering techniques that imply a sophisticated understanding of their environment. The Piri Reis map fits within this broader pattern, suggesting that remnants of a shared or transmitted knowledge may have survived in diverse locations, encoded in physical artifacts, charts, and monuments. While direct links remain speculative, the map aligns with a growing catalogue of anomalies that challenge simple narratives of linear historical development. Debates surrounding the map persist, with interpretations divided between conventional historians and alternative theorists. Skeptics argue that inaccuracies and approximations reflect guesswork or transcription errors, while proponents point to the precision of key features as evidence that the map incorporates lost knowledge of ancient exploration. Even the most cautious scholars acknowledge the map's enigmatic nature, noting that it raises questions about the scope of human geographic understanding in the pre-modern world. This tension between anomaly and explanation reinforces the sense that the Piri Reis map represents more than a mere curiosity. It is a puzzle that continues to provoke reflection on the limits of recorded history. The precision and reach of the map invite reflection on the possibility of a civilization whose knowledge spanned continents long before recognized history. If one accepts that some of its depictions derive from direct observation or accurate copying of older sources, then the map hints at networks of exploration, measurement, and documentation that conventional timelines fail to account for. The implications extend beyond cartography, touching on questions of trade, communication, and technological capability in eras often considered primitive. For some, this single artifact becomes evidence of a global awareness that existed, briefly and quietly, before the world remembered it. Each faint line and note on the map carries an echo of voyages, measurements, and observations that remain largely invisible to the modern eye. The inked shapes, the annotations, and the slight corrections reveal not only peri-race care but also the labour of countless unknown hands whose knowledge may have originated centuries earlier. The map's survival, against all odds, suggests a continuity of information that hints at a civilization capable of understanding the world in ways modern history has yet to fully grasp. It is this blend of certainty in detail and uncertainty in origin that sustains its power as evidence of forgotten geography. Somewhere within the intricate ink and measured strokes of the peri-race map may lie the shadow of a civilization whose understanding of the world transcended what history has yet revealed. Global flood narratives. Across continents and millennia, stories of cataclysmic floods appear with an uncanny consistency, describing great waters that consumed the world, sparing only a few humans and animals within carefully constructed vessels. Some scholars have noted that these myths, from Mesopotamia to the Americas, from India to Oceania, share technical details and narrative patterns that defy simple coincidence. Proponents of a lost global civilization suggest that such widespread parallels may preserve fragments of knowledge passed down from an advanced culture that predated recorded history. Though speculative, these echoes invite a closer look at how human memory might conceal traces of a vanished empire. The Mesopotamian epic of Gilgamesh recounts Utnapishtim's survival of a flood of unimaginable proportions, describing a boat of precise dimensions and the careful preservation of every species of animal. The text conveys not only mythic symbolism but technical specificity. Measurements, construction methods, and the timing of the flood are meticulously recorded. Some researchers argue that such precision indicates more than storytelling skill. It suggests the memory of practical knowledge regarding survival in a world altered by sudden inundation. When compared to other ancient texts, these details hint at knowledge that may have travelled far beyond the boundaries of Mesopotamia. Babylonian and Assyrian variations of the flood narrative reinforce this pattern, repeating precise durations, vessel designs, and strategies for safeguarding life. Despite cultural differences, the similarities in construction, timing, and symbolism are striking, suggesting a shared template or source of knowledge. Some theorists propose that these consistencies reflect information preserved from a civilization that existed before these city-states. A civilization whose advanced understanding of survival and engineering found its way into local myths. While each version carries unique cultural nuances, the repeated elements cannot easily be dismissed as coincidence. The Hebrew story of Noah's Ark amplifies these parallels, describing a flood of 40 days and 40 nights, a vessel designed to hold living creatures, and explicit instructions from a divine source. The alignment of narrative structure and technical details with Mesopotamian accounts raises the question of whether these stories emerged independently or trace back to a shared origin. Advocates for a lost global civilization emphasize that the repeated presence of similar measurements, logistical planning, and emphasis on survival may indicate the diffusion of knowledge from a civilization that once spanned multiple regions. Flood myths from India, China, the Americas, and Oceania extend the pattern further, describing universal inundation, human survival, and divine guidance. In India, Manu survives a great deluge with the help of a fish that instructs him on building a vessel. In China, Yu navigates a world reshaped by floodwaters. The Americas recount global floods in Mayan and Incan oral traditions. Across isolated continents, the convergence of story elements suggests a thread of common understanding. Proponents argue that this could represent the lingering influence of a lost civilization, whose experiences were encoded into myth for generations. Archaeological and geological evidence offers additional context, revealing sediment layers, submerged coastlines, and traces of post-Ice Age sea level rise that could have inspired or reinforced flood narratives. In some regions, catastrophic events left unmistakable marks on the landscape, creating the tangible backdrop against which myths were formed. The recurrence of floods in human memory might reflect actual environmental upheavals, preserved through stories that carry both practical warnings and encoded technical knowledge. If these tales share a common source, the evidence points toward a civilization capable of recording and transmitting insights about natural catastrophes across generations. Debates continue over whether these myths represent independent cultural inventions or knowledge transmitted from a single source. The recurrence of similar patterns, boat design, animal preservation, timing, and symbolism, raises the possibility of global influence. While skeptics suggest diffusion could occur through trade or migration, theorists of a lost global civilization see the consistency as more than coincidence, implying a civilization whose knowledge permeated early human societies. These discussions leave a space between confirmed history and speculation, where fragments of memory might hint at an advanced civilization now lost beneath the mists of time. A closer look at recurring technical details strengthens the argument. The design of boats, the inclusion of paired animals, precise measurements, and symbolic numbers appear in myths from disparate cultures. The sophistication implied by these elements suggests a civilization with an advanced understanding of logistics, ecology, and perhaps even celestial cycles. That these details appear repeatedly across continents fuels speculation that such knowledge originated from a single, widespread source. Whether preserved through oral tradition or early records, these echoes provide tantalizing hints that a global civilization may have existed before recorded history captured its memory. Symbolic and astronomical aspects of flood myths add another layer of intrigue. The number of days the waters prevailed, connections to solar or lunar cycles, and timing aligned with seasonal changes appear consistently in myths from different regions. Some scholars propose that these embedded markers could reflect knowledge of environmental patterns and celestial observation preserved from an earlier civilization. If such information was encoded intentionally in narrative form, myths may have functioned as a sophisticated method for transmitting technical knowledge across generations, reinforcing the theory of a lost civilization with both practical and cultural sophistication. Post-Ice Age environmental changes offer a plausible backdrop for these narratives. Glacial melting, rising seas, and dramatic shifts in climate would have had global consequences, reshaping coastlines and river systems. Communities across the world could have independently experienced flooding, but the remarkably similar details in their myths suggest a more unified memory. The cumulative evidence, narrative consistency, technical detail, and geological alignment supports the speculative idea that a civilization of advanced knowledge may have influenced multiple cultures, preserving memory of a global cataclysm through stories that continue to echo today. The combination of myths from diverse continents, geological evidence, and detailed technical elements paints a picture of humanity remembering something vast yet obscured. While no single story proves the existence of a lost global empire, the repeated motifs, measurements, and survival strategies suggest the faint traces of a civilization whose reach and knowledge may have been far greater than previously imagined. Each narrative contributes to a mosaic of memory, a puzzle of fragmented knowledge that hints at connections beyond conventional history. From oceans to mountains and deserts, flood stories converge in ways that challenge the boundaries of coincidence and hint at an origin that remains just out of reach. The Black Sea Deluge Hypothesis. Vast plains that once bordered the Black Sea were abruptly claimed by rising waters, hinting at a catastrophic flood whose scale some theorists suggest might connect to knowledge preserved by a lost global empire. Archaeologists and geologists have noted submerged shorelines and abandoned settlements, their remains swallowed beneath layers of silt and clay. These features indicate a sudden violent event rather than a gradual sea level rise. While the precise chronology remains debated, the convergence of sediment data, submerged structures, and comparative flood myths invites speculation that a civilization of considerable reach may have been impacted, leaving behind tantalizing fragments of memory encoded in material evidence. Sediment cores from multiple locations around the Black Sea reveal sharp transitions from freshwater deposits to marine layers, capturing a moment when the Mediterranean surged into the basin with sudden force. The chemical composition and layering suggest a rapid influx of salt water rather than slow encroachment. Radiocarbon dating aligns with the end of the last ice age, roughly 7,600 years ago, a period marked by significant climatic instability. Such evidence, though not definitive, has prompted theorists to propose that coastal settlements were quickly overwhelmed, and survivors may have carried knowledge of this sudden event across continents, forming a shared recollection of dramatic environmental upheaval. Scattered remnants of prehistoric settlements, now submerged, hint at communities abruptly interrupted, leaving traces that whisper of human memory preserved in oral tradition. Stone foundations, hearths, and tools lie beneath layers of silt, undisturbed for millennia. Their careful arrangement suggests sophisticated social organization, implying that the flood may have destroyed more than isolated villages. Some researchers note the alignment of certain ruins with former shoreline contours, indicating a deliberate placement in relation to the ancient coast. This alignment fuels speculation that these populations, part of a larger network, may have been aware of wider geographic knowledge, potentially connecting to the broader theoretical framework of a lost global empire. Echoes of inundation ripple through myths from Mesopotamia to the Aegean, where stories of great floods share striking parallels in timing and scale. The Epic of Gilgamesh, Greek flood legends, and other early narratives all describe waters that submerge cities and wipe away civilizations. While these tales cannot confirm a single global empire, the recurrence of similar themes across distant cultures raises questions about a shared historical memory. Proponents suggest that survivors may have transmitted fragmented knowledge of cataclysmic events, preserving insights into geography, architecture, and survival strategies, hints of a civilization whose reach extended far beyond any single region documented by archaeology alone. Climatic shifts following the last ice age raised seas gradually, yet the Black Sea event appears to have occurred with surprising speed, overwhelming coastal populations entirely. Melting glaciers contributed to rising global sea levels, but the sudden inflow of Mediterranean waters through the Bosporus created an unparalleled deluge, inundating low-lying areas in weeks or months. The scale and speed distinguish this event from ordinary post-glacial flooding. Researchers speculate that such a dramatic environmental shock could have influenced settlement patterns across Europe and the Near East, dispersing knowledge and technologies while leaving subtle traces in material culture that might point to a civilization larger and more connected than previously imagined. Computer models of water flow and salinity provide additional insight into the mechanics of the Black Sea deluge, showing how a rapid inundation could have transformed marine ecosystems almost overnight. These models demonstrate how saltwater penetration would have affected freshwater species and reshaped local coastlines. Archaeological finds, including fishing implements and submerged wooden structures, align with these projections, reinforcing the plausibility of a sudden flood scenario. By combining geological data with ecological modelling, scientists create a more nuanced picture of the event, revealing its potential consequences not only for human communities but for the broader environment, which may have carried echoes of a forgotten civilization's influence. Tales of cataclysmic waters in distant cultures share similarities that suggest a possible collective memory of an event so dramatic it resonated across continents. From Anatolia to the Levant, flood motifs emerge repeatedly, often describing human survival, divine intervention, and city destruction. Anthropologists note that these narratives sometimes include geographic details consistent with Black Sea coastlines, implying that oral histories may have preserved factual observations over generations. While myth cannot substitute for physical evidence, these recurring motifs lend weight to the idea that the deluge was a transformative event whose memory persisted in human culture, hinting at networks of knowledge once shared across a much larger geographic sphere. Survivors may have carried knowledge of the flood through oral tradition and practical innovations, influencing settlement patterns, agricultural strategies, and navigation techniques. As people migrated inland or along coastlines, they could have transmitted lessons on water management, construction methods, and resource utilization. The persistence of certain architectural techniques and ritual practices across distant sites suggests the movement of ideas alongside populations. These cultural continuities, while subtle, provide tantalizing hints that the Black Sea deluge was more than a regional disaster. It may have catalyzed the dissemination of knowledge from a sophisticated network of communities, perhaps remnants of a single more extensive civilization. Scholarly debate continues over the precise magnitude and speed of the deluge, highlighting both the certainty of geological evidence and the ambiguity that fuels speculation. Some researchers argue for a gradual flooding scenario, while others emphasize abrupt sea level changes capable of displacing entire populations. The varying interpretations underscore the difficulty of reconstructing events from thousands of years ago, yet the combination of sediment data, submerged settlements, and flood narratives cannot be ignored. For theorists exploring a lost global empire, the Black Sea deluge provides a compelling lens. Even without confirmation, the event offers a scenario in which human knowledge, architecture, and survival strategies might have been abruptly disrupted and dispersed. The inundation's indirect effects may have rippled far beyond the immediate region, influencing migration, trade, and the exchange of technological innovations. Coastal populations forced to move inland could have brought specialized knowledge of metallurgy, ceramics, or agriculture, seeding developments in distant areas. Archaeological patterns suggest sudden shifts in settlement density and material culture following the estimated date of the deluge. While these connections remain speculative, they demonstrate how a single environmental event could have reverberated through societies, shaping human history in ways that leave subtle, yet intriguing hints of a larger interconnected system potentially linked to a hypothetical lost global empire. When piecing together sediment layers, flood myths, and archaeological traces, the Black Sea deluge forms a puzzle whose fragments tantalizingly suggest the fingerprints of a civilization once widespread yet now forgotten. The evidence is never complete. Submerged structures are difficult to access, oral traditions evolve, and ancient settlements erode under centuries of environmental change. Nevertheless, the convergence of multiple independent data sources encourages careful consideration. Each sediment layer, each mythic motif, each artifact hints at a narrative that is fragmentary yet persistent, inviting exploration of a civilization whose knowledge, if only partially preserved, may challenge our understanding of prehistoric global networks and shared human experience. Perhaps somewhere beneath the waves, the secrets of that ancient cataclysm wait, silent and undisturbed, challenging everything we think we know about human memory and lost civilizations. Submerged coastal structures worldwide. Emerging platforms in shallow waters hint at a mastery of construction lost to time, and some researchers suggest they may represent fragments of a civilization with global reach. From the waters off Japan to the coasts of India, surveys reveal terraces, foundations, and blocks arranged with precision that defies conventional expectations of prehistoric societies. These submerged platforms, often hidden under meters of sediment, demonstrate patterns of settlement and organization that hint at urban planning. The distribution of these structures across continents raises questions about whether distant communities shared knowledge or were guided by a common architectural principle, a legacy now silently resting beneath shifting tides. Silent walls stretch across submerged landscapes, their precise angles and massive blocks defying assumptions about the capabilities of early coastal communities. In Japan's Yonaguni site, stairways and terraces emerge from the sea in geometric perfection, while off the coast of Dwarka, India, foundations suggest streets and harbours constructed with foresight and skill. These walls, eroded yet still imposing, indicate an understanding of stonework that challenges the timeline of human technological development. Their orientation, repetition, and alignment with natural landforms reveal a sophistication that is echoed in sites thousands of miles apart, implying a broader tradition of maritime construction. Fragments of roads and terraced foundations rise along ancient shorelines, each revealing clues about settlement patterns that challenge conventional historical timelines. The layout of these submerged streets often mirrors terrestrial urban planning, including avenues, platforms, and courtyards, hinting at the presence of social organization capable of coordinating large-scale construction. In the Mediterranean, terraces near Malta and Alexandria echo geometric principles seen in Asia, suggesting similar construction knowledge. The terrace's preservation underwater allows modern surveyors to detect alignments and spacing that would have required precise measurement tools, sparking debate about who might have designed these early coastal cities and how such knowledge spread. Careful examination of offshore formations shows repeated geometric layouts, suggesting that these structures were not random but part of deliberate architectural schemes. Circular arrangements, linear alignments, and terraced blocks appear consistently across continents, implying standardized methods. Even in sediment-choked waters where natural processes obscure detail, Sonar mapping and photogrammetry reveal angles that align with cardinal points and local topography. Such consistency hints at either the exchange of techniques across far-flung communities or the survival of an architectural tradition that predates known civilizations, leaving only these submerged traces as evidence of an advanced, if forgotten, human endeavor. Boulders arranged in parallel rows and circular formations hint at ceremonial or functional purposes, implying a shared knowledge of design across distant regions. Some alignments may have served ritual or astronomical functions, while others appear practical, providing defensive or communal spaces. In the waters off South America, stone terraces follow natural contours to create leveled surfaces, perhaps for habitation or gathering. Across the Caribbean and West African coasts, similar arrangements are found, showing remarkable consistency despite geographic separation. The recurrence of these forms suggests that either knowledge of coastal engineering spread widely, or that multiple cultures independently developed comparable architectural solutions for settlement and ceremonial purposes. Mapping of these underwater sites uncovers platforms aligned with the celestial events, a connection that has prompted speculation about advanced astronomical awareness among their builders. Certain terraces and stones appear oriented to solstices, equinoxes, or the rising of key stars, hinting at a sophisticated integration of architecture and cosmology. This alignment has been observed in multiple regions, including the Mediterranean, South Asia, and Africa, suggesting that maritime communities were attentive to celestial patterns for religious, agricultural, or navigational purposes. The underwater preservation of these alignments presents an unusual opportunity to study the astronomical knowledge of prehistoric populations now lost to history. Sediment-covered blocks along multiple continents display striking similarities, provoking questions about whether these communities exchanged knowledge or descended from a common origin. Polygonal cuts, terraced layouts, and block sizes are remarkably consistent across widely separated sites, creating patterns that are unlikely to result from independent invention alone. These shared traits challenge conventional models of isolated development and suggest either contact between distant populations or the survival of a broader architectural tradition, now partially obscured by millennia of rising seas. Each block, each terrace, becomes a fragment of a larger puzzle that hints at coordinated knowledge spanning oceans. Ocean currents hide more than they reveal, yet sonar scans continue to uncover straight-edge foundations, terraces, and walls, each defying expectations of prehistoric engineering. In many locations, what appears at first glance as random rock formations resolves into aligned walls, stairways, and enclosures upon closer inspection. Some blocks weigh tens of tons, yet they are positioned with accuracy that implies planning, tools, and labour well beyond what standard accounts of early human societies allow. The repeated discovery of such structures invites speculation that a lost civilization once possessed advanced techniques for transporting and shaping stone along coastlines worldwide. Oral traditions from coastal cultures describe entire cities swallowed by rising waters, stories that now intersect with tangible evidence beneath the waves. From Mesopotamian flood legends to Indian epics mentioning Dwarka, narratives of submergence appear across disparate societies. When these tales are correlated with underwater discoveries, a picture emerges of communities displaced or destroyed by post-Ice Age sea level rise. Such intersections of myth and material evidence suggest that collective memory may have preserved fragments of events that erased entire settlements, leaving only traces that continue to puzzle modern researchers seeking to connect stories with physical sites. Shifts in sea level over millennia have fragmented these coastal settlements, leaving only hints of the scale and sophistication once achieved by their architects. Rising waters inundated cities, terraces, and ceremonial complexes, scattering artifacts across seabeds. Some sites show evidence of repeated occupation before submergence, while others reveal a single catastrophic inundation event. These patterns suggest that many coastal populations were forced to adapt rapidly, relocate, or perish, taking with them the knowledge of construction techniques that may have originated in a more interconnected prehistoric world, now glimpsed only in the submerged remnants that survive. The recurring motifs, precise angles, and consistent alignments of these submerged constructions create an uneasy sense that they were created by a connected global intelligence now hidden across oceans. When viewed together, From Asia to Africa, Europe to the Americas, the submerged sites form a web of human ingenuity and architectural understanding that predates known civilizations. Whether these structures represent independent innovation, widespread knowledge sharing, or the traces of a single lost global empire remain speculative, but the echoes of purpose and design remain unmistakable, a silent testament to a forgotten era of coastal mastery. Amid the shifting tides, remnants of an ancient civilization whisper of secrets that time itself has struggled to conceal. Obsidian and tool trade over long distances. Emerging from quarries and riverbeds, obsidian artifacts hint at a network of trade and craftsmanship that seems impossibly extensive for prehistoric communities, and some theorists suggest these connections might point to a lost global civilization with extraordinary reach. These sharp-edged tools, prized for their durability and cutting precision, have been discovered thousands of kilometers from their geological sources, implying not only careful transport but also sophisticated knowledge of material properties that transcended isolated regions. The recurring presence of similar obsidian types in distant archaeological sites provokes questions about coordination, exchange, and the possible movement of ideas over vast distances, hinting at a system of knowledge and commerce more intricate than previously imagined. Striking parallels appear in the style and technique of tool production, from projectile points to ceremonial blades, revealing patterns that defy expectations of purely local innovation. Obsidian napping across separate continents demonstrates consistent craftsmanship, including pressure flaking, meticulous bifacial shaping, and the selection of the finest raw material for maximum effectiveness. These similarities suggest a shared knowledge base that might have been exchanged or inherited from a common yet hidden source. The intricacy of these techniques implies meticulous instruction, planning, and an appreciation for both function and aesthetic, skills that seem disproportionate to small isolated communities, hinting at networks of learning now lost to time. Shards discovered in coastal and inland sites alike hint at long-standing trade corridors, where raw materials and finished implements moved over deserts, rivers, and mountains with surprising efficiency. Archaeologists have documented the transport of obsidian from volcanic regions in Anatolia to settlements in the Levant, from the Aegean Islands to mainland Greece and across Mesoamerica, raising questions about the extent of prehistoric mobility and communication. Each piece carries evidence of handling, shaping, and use, suggesting that these were not casual artifacts but carefully curated objects whose distribution reflected deliberate exchange and planning, revealing networks of interaction spanning hundreds, even thousands of kilometers. Examination of isotopic and chemical compositions confirms that many obsidian tools can be traced to specific quarries, allowing researchers to map networks of movement and exchange with unprecedented clarity. The precision with which these ancient peoples selected, worked, and distributed obsidian indicates more than coincidental diffusion. It suggests systematic planning and knowledge of geography, logistics, and resource management. Such capabilities, observed across multiple continents and time periods, hint at the possibility of an interconnected world whose scope remains largely invisible, and whose mechanisms of coordination remain a matter of speculation and intense scholarly debate. Trade of obsidian also intersected with cultural and ceremonial practices, implying that these objects were valued not only for their utility, but also for their symbolic meaning. Some sites contain caches of unworked obsidian, arranged in intentional patterns, which may have marked sacred spaces or acted as tokens of status, alliance, or ritual observance. These ceremonial deposits suggest a shared understanding of the material's significance, possibly reflecting a conceptual framework that extended far beyond a single community's needs, pointing toward a collective awareness of knowledge, practice, and perhaps ideology. Even in regions separated by challenging terrain, obsidian artifacts appear in clusters that mirror similar styles and sizes, indicating a degree of standardization uncommon in isolated societies. Such consistency implies the existence of teaching or apprenticeship systems, where techniques were preserved, refined, and passed along across generations. The evidence suggests that knowledge of tool production, trade routes, and resource locations may have been disseminated deliberately, creating a network of competence that resembles early forms of organized economic and cultural exchange. The recurrence of patterns across hundreds of kilometers hints at an underlying intelligence guiding these movements. ethnographic parallels hint that the distribution of obsidian could have facilitated alliances, negotiations, and shared rituals between communities, providing an intangible layer to material exchange. In some regions, the appearance of foreign obsidian coincides with shifts in settlement patterns, suggesting that the arrival of these tools influenced social structures or even prompted migrations. The integration of obsidian into daily life, ceremonial contexts, and territorial interactions points to a sophisticated understanding of both material and social dynamics, reinforcing the notion that these early societies were more interconnected than traditional histories have acknowledged. Clusters of obsidian in distant sites also reveal connections with other materials, such as shells, pigments, and early metals, forming composite assemblages whose significance remains debated. The co-occurrence of multiple exotic resources implies that trade networks were not limited to a single commodity, but represented broader systems of exchange encompassing technology, symbolism, and perhaps knowledge. These patterns hint at a level of coordination that could have spanned vast regions, fostering shared practices and ideas across disparate populations, implying that these communities were not merely trading objects, but also exchanging concepts, techniques, and cultural understanding. Advances in underwater archaeology have even revealed submerged sites, where obsidian artifacts lie alongside stone foundations, hinting that some trade or storage activities may have been organised near coastal settlements now lost to rising seas. These discoveries extend the potential reach of early networks, suggesting that maritime routes may have complemented overland pathways, connecting communities separated by hundreds of kilometres. Each submerged artifact adds a layer of mystery to the story of human mobility and the movement of materials before written records, and the very presence of these items underwater raises questions about the scale and sophistication of lost coastal settlements. Analysis of wear patterns and microflaking on obsidian tools indicates specialised use for cutting, scraping, and carving, suggesting coordinated production and distribution to meet diverse functional needs. The recurrence of similar tools in multiple regions implies that knowledge of application and maintenance travelled with the objects themselves, pointing to an awareness of durability, precision, and efficiency that transcended local contexts. This level of sophistication in material use underscores the possibility of broader, intentional knowledge sharing among early societies, and hints at the deliberate crafting of objects to serve multiple communities over vast distances. The widespread distribution, uniform craftsmanship, and technical precision of these artifacts hint at an intelligence that transcended local communities, suggesting networks of knowledge that may have reached across continents. Each translucent shard glimmers like a whisper from a civilization that once linked distant shores, yet whose architects remain unseen by time, leaving a tantalizing enigma about the origins and extent of human ingenuity. Each translucent shard glimmers like a whisper from a civilization that once linked distant shores, yet whose architects remain unseen by time. Green Sahara civilization. Millennia ago, vast rivers and sprawling lakes carved the Sahara into a landscape capable of sustaining cities, herds, and crops, leaving behind artifacts that suggest a civilization of unexpected sophistication, whose traces now lie buried beneath sands and stone. Rock engravings of humans and animals, pottery shards, and stone tools hint at communities that thrived across this once lush terrain. Some archaeologists propose that these settlements were part of a broader network of knowledge, possibly stretching far beyond the desert, leaving tantalizing evidence of human ingenuity that challenges assumptions about the capabilities of early societies. Shifts in rainfall and monsoon patterns gradually transformed the region, shrinking rivers and silting lakes, a silent erasure that forced migrations and left once fertile lands to the slow encroachment of desert. Ancient channels dried to mere traces, and seasonal pools disappeared, leaving only depressions in the earth that mark where life once concentrated. These climatic transformations fragmented communities, scattering people across emerging deserts and forcing adaptation in ways that remain difficult to fully reconstruct. Yet the evidence preserved in soil, pollen, and sediment reveals a rich, interconnected environment capable of supporting organised human activity on an impressive scale. Painted and engraved scenes of cattle, hunters, and ceremonial gatherings cover cliffs, boulders, and sheltered overhangs, speaking to a complex culture attuned to its environment, yet silent about its wider connections. These depictions, executed with careful attention to proportion and movement, suggest not only artistic sophistication, but also social cohesion. Groups are portrayed in coordinated activities, implying shared knowledge and ritual practice. The variety of animals depicted, elephants, giraffes, and hippos, records a fauna no longer present, hinting at an environment radically different from the desert today and a society intimately tied to its landscapes. Remnants of channels, wells, and irrigation-like features indicate that these people understood water management, allowing settlements to persist in areas that now seem inhospitable. Terraces and low walls near former lakes and riverbeds suggest a deliberate shaping of the environment to sustain crops or control floods. Such engineering feats point to long-term planning, communal labour, and possibly even knowledge transfer between distant settlements. The precision and placement of these features raise questions about how societies coordinated in an era conventionally viewed as technologically limited, and whether this knowledge was shared across regions now separated by sand and centuries. Stone axes, pottery fragments, and finely crafted ornaments found across dispersed sites reveal technological consistency, hinting at shared techniques that stretch across what are now national boundaries. These artifacts demonstrate remarkable standardization, suggesting that communities were not isolated but maintained networks for exchange or communication. Raw materials appear to have travelled long distances, either through trade or migration, hinting at social structures capable of sustaining logistical operations over challenging terrain. Each recovered tool carries traces of human decision-making, yet its widespread similarities provoke speculation about whether these skills were independently developed or passed along a connected global thread of knowledge. Animal bones, including remains of domesticated cattle and wild species, testify to organised herding and seasonal movement, suggesting communities capable of large-scale coordination and long-term planning. Evidence of selective breeding, corrals, and hunting practices indicates that these societies understood the rhythms of their environment and could manipulate it to their advantage. Such coordination implies social hierarchies and communication systems that allowed knowledge to be maintained and transmitted across generations. The scale of these activities challenges assumptions about prehistoric human capabilities, raising the possibility that similar organizational models existed elsewhere, echoing the speculative pattern of a lost global intelligence. Today, former lakebeds conceal foundations, middens, and shallow depressions, their outlines detectable only through satellite imagery, drone surveys, and sediment analysis. Whispering of towns swallowed by shifting sands. Subsurface scanning and ground-penetrating radar have revealed traces of walls and pathways, their geometric precision raising questions about planning and cultural sophistication. Many of these buried sites remain unexplored, tantalizing archaeologists with fragments of dwellings and communal spaces. Each newly detected formation underscores the scale and density of settlement in a region that now appears empty, offering a silent testimony to a society whose full story has yet to emerge from the desert's embrace. Sediment cores, pollen records, and isotope analysis reveal a Sahara once green, contemporary with other, advanced centres elsewhere, raising questions about simultaneous developments and potential interconnections. Patterns of vegetation change correspond to human activity, hinting at large-scale agriculture, water manipulation, and settlement. Comparing these records with evidence from North Africa, the Levant, and even distant river valleys provokes speculation about communication, migration, and the exchange of ideas across continents. The overlap of ecological, archaeological, and climatic data suggests a network of human enterprise far more sophisticated than the isolated communities previously imagined in the region. Clusters of settlements near former water sources imply social organisation capable of planning, collaboration, and territorial awareness, traits that hint at a hierarchy now invisible beneath the sands. The distribution of villages, ceremonial spaces, and resources indicates deliberate spatial planning, including consideration of seasonal water levels and flood patterns. Such structures suggest an understanding of long-term environmental cycles, as well as social norms governing resource allocation and communal labour. These patterns raise the possibility that the Sahara hosted a civilization operating on principles that may have resonated with other cultures, contributing to an interconnected web of human knowledge across time and space. Unusual figurines, engraved stones, and patterned artifacts emerge from sand-covered sites, their purpose debated, yet their precision and consistent forms suggest a shared symbolic language or technical knowledge once widespread across the region. Many of these objects appear in multiple locations, implying either trade networks or shared cultural heritage. The meticulous craftsmanship challenges notions of primitive development and encourages reconsideration of prehistoric cognitive and artistic capacity. Each item, small yet deliberate, carries traces of cultural memory and technical skill, hinting at a civilization capable of transmitting information over distance and time, leaving fragments for modern discovery. The alignment of settlement patterns, river courses, and ceremonial sites hints at a civilization that may have been part of a broader network, now scattered across time and continents, leaving only fragments for us to piece together. Observed regularities in orientation and clustering suggest knowledge of environmental cycles and spatial organization, implying communication and planning on scales that continue to surprise researchers. While much of this civilization remains hidden beneath sands or lost to erosion, the surviving evidence, art, tools, and structural traces offers glimpses of a sophisticated people who may have participated in wider currents of human innovation, linking regions and ideas long before written records existed. What other secrets lie buried beneath the sands, waiting to reveal the true scope of humanity's forgotten ingenuity? Sudden emergence of civilization. Astonishingly advanced urban centres appear almost simultaneously across distant lands, revealing a sudden complexity that defies conventional expectations of gradual development. Archaeological evidence shows cities with organised street grids, fortified walls, and centralised spaces emerging in Mesopotamia, the Indus Valley, and Egypt within comparable timeframes. This abrupt sophistication suggests human societies developed not just independently but in parallel, displaying similar architectural, technological, and social strategies. The speed and scale of these developments raise questions about the sources of knowledge, whether through inter-regional contact, diffusion, or perhaps an older globally dispersed intelligence now lost to history. Intricate systems of writing emerge fully formed, their symbols and records hinting at intellectual traditions that may predate or transcend local innovations. From Sumerian cuneiform to Egyptian hieroglyphs and the enigmatic Indus script, each system represents a leap in the ability to encode, transmit, and preserve complex information. The sophistication of these scripts, appearing suddenly without clear predecessors, challenges assumptions that writing evolved gradually from simple pictographs. Beyond practical recording, these inscriptions hint at a conceptual framework encompassing mathematics, trade, and societal regulation, suggesting knowledge that either diffused widely or originates from a source we have yet to understand. Careful alignment of streets, walls, and monumental architecture suggests early city planners possessed knowledge of geometry and civil engineering far beyond their supposed era. The layouts of Mohenjo-Daro, Uruk, and Memphis reveal uniformity in measurements, right angles, and drainage systems, indicating planning principles applied with remarkable precision. Builders achieved structural stability and spatial organization, requiring advanced surveying techniques, tools, and labor coordination. Such achievements are particularly perplexing when compared to surrounding settlements, which remained rudimentary for centuries. These sudden urban feats suggest that architects and engineers were operating from a knowledge base that challenges assumptions of incremental development. Trade routes stretching across deserts, rivers, and seas connect communities with remarkable efficiency, carrying rare materials and specialized tools that indicate long-distance coordination. Obsidian, precious metals, lapis lazuli, and ceramics traveled thousands of miles, linking regions from Mesopotamia to the Indus Valley. Evidence of standardized weights, measurement systems, and shared artifact styles suggests as organized networks capable of complex logistics. These interactions imply both the exchange of goods and the transmission of ideas, which may have accelerated cultural development. Such early trade sophistication raises questions about the scale of social cooperation and the mechanisms that allowed distant populations to coordinate over formidable natural barriers. Ceremonial centers and temples rise with architectural sophistication, their layouts and proportions reflecting a profound understanding of both ritual significance and spatial organization. Structures such as ziggurats in Mesopotamia, the Great Pyramids of Egypt, and Mohenjo-Daro's citadels exhibit symmetry, orientation, and monumental scale rarely seen in contemporary settlements. These sites combine functional and symbolic design, indicating religious, administrative, and social purposes intertwined. The precision and recurrence of architectural patterns across continents hint at a shared comprehension of geometry and cosmology, whether independently discovered or transmitted through yet-to-be-documented connections. The human desire to reflect order and meaning in stone and space is strikingly evident. Elaborate burial sites reveal social hierarchies already established, with grave goods and positioning that speak to complex beliefs and societal structures. Tombs from Ur and Abydos contain high-status individuals accompanied by jewellery, weapons, and ceremonial items, while ordinary citizens received more modest interments. The sophistication of funerary architecture, including mastabas and burial chambers, indicates a structured society capable of supporting specialised labour. Moreover, the symbolic placement of these graves reflects cosmological and ritual awareness. Such rapid emergence of stratification challenges assumptions about gradual social evolution, suggesting that systems of governance, class differentiation, and religious expression were established almost instantaneously. Irrigation networks and cultivated fields emerge alongside cities, demonstrating advanced agricultural knowledge capable of sustaining large populations and urban growth. Canals in Mesopotamia, Nile floodplain management, and Indus Valley grid-aligned water systems indicate planned water distribution on scales requiring engineering foresight. Crop rotation, soil management, and domesticated livestock enable dense urban populations to thrive, supporting specialised artisans, merchants, and administrators. The coordinated agricultural systems reveal societies capable of long-term planning, surplus management, and resource distribution. The abrupt appearance of these systems across multiple regions suggests civilizations actively shaping their environment to support complex economies. Meticulous craftsmanship in pottery, metallurgy, and standardized tools points to specialized industries flourishing in parallel across multiple regions. Kiln-fired ceramics, copper alloys, and intricate stone tools exhibit uniformity and refinement, suggesting both apprenticeship traditions and shared technical principles. Objects ranging from jewellery to weaponry reveal attention to both aesthetic and functional requirements. The parallel development of these industries across continents indicates either a remarkable coincidence or the transmission of techniques over long distances. Such sudden mastery of production challenges models that assume linear technological advancement and paints a picture of societies operating with specialized knowledge, efficient workflows, and an appreciation for standardization. Administrative systems, including record-keeping and inventories, operate with surprising sophistication, suggesting early governance frameworks designed for sustained societal management. Clay tablets, seals, and standardized counting tools point to meticulous oversight of goods, labor, and taxation. Authorities appear to have regulated trade, agriculture, and resource allocation systematically, implying bureaucratic hierarchies capable of complex coordination. The emergence of such administration across civilizations simultaneously challenges the assumption that governance evolved gradually. Instead, it reveals societies with anticipatory structures capable of managing human and material resources efficiently, facilitating urban and cultural development on unprecedented scales. Comparisons between Mesopotamia, Egypt, and the Indus Valley reveal patterns of urban design, social organization, and ritual practice that appear uncannily parallel. From city layouts and temple placement to burial customs and trade networks, these civilizations display convergent development in multiple areas. The repetition of specific measures, proportions, and orientations suggests shared principles of engineering, planning, and cultural expression. While independent innovation is possible, the speed and uniformity across continents remain puzzling. Evidence points to a mysterious influence shaping these societies, a template of urban, social, and technological norms that manifest repeatedly, leaving open questions about its origin and scope. The simultaneous appearance of writing, urban planning, trade, and governance hints at forces shaping civilizations that remain obscured by time and incomplete records. Across disparate geographies, humanity seems to have leapt toward complex organization, with little trace of transitional phases. Archaeological gaps conceal the processes behind these transformations, prompting speculation about earlier, undocumented influences or lost knowledge. Whether through cultural diffusion, independent ingenuity, or remnants of a widely dispersed civilization, the patterns are unmistakable. This sudden convergence of human ingenuity challenges assumptions about societal evolution and invites a reconsideration of prehistory as far richer and more interconnected than previously imagined. Each fragment of urban design, tool, and record hints at a past intelligence whose traces endure, waiting silently to reshape our understanding of civilization itself. Ice Age genetic bottlenecks. Shadows of the last ice age linger in our DNA, revealing periods when human populations shrank to astonishingly small numbers, hinting at forces that may have shaped civilizations far beyond local regions. These bottlenecks, recorded in mitochondrial and nuclear markers, suggest that survival was precarious, with entire lineages at risk of disappearing entirely. Archaeological evidence from shelters, caves, and small encampments paints a picture of humans eking out a fragile existence, moving in response to advancing ice sheets and retreating habitats. Each genetic contraction carries with it the memory of endurance, adaptation, and perhaps lost knowledge waiting to resurface in later civilizations. Vast glaciers and plunging temperatures forced humans into isolated refuges, where survival became a fragile experiment in adaptation, resilience, and innovation. The retreating ice created pockets of habitable land scattered across Eurasia, Africa, and the Americas, each hosting small populations with limited genetic diversity. Within these enclaves, humans developed strategies for hunting, gathering, and shelter that had to be repeatedly reinvented or meticulously preserved, lest the knowledge vanish entirely. Traces of these survival techniques, including tools and symbolic markings, provide glimpses of ingenuity constrained by environment but expansive in consequence, suggesting a resilience that would ripple forward into the dawn of civilization. Traces preserved in mitochondrial and Y chromosome sequences suggest that these genetic bottlenecks occurred across continents, leaving patterns that defy the expectation of purely local events. Some lineages appear to converge on shared genetic traits, despite vast geographic distances, implying connections that are not yet fully understood. These shared markers hint at the survival of certain traits or practices that may have conferred advantages during periods of extreme stress. The distribution of these genes mirrors archaeological clues, stone tools, artwork, and subsistence practices emerging independently, yet following uncanny parallels, suggesting the faint imprint of a more interconnected human experience than conventionally recognized. Artifacts and toolkits from isolated sites indicate sudden leaps in craftsmanship, hinting that knowledge was preserved and transmitted even when populations were dangerously small. Flint blades, bone harpoons, and intricately carved figurines appear with an abrupt sophistication, suggesting that learning was either extraordinarily resilient or passed through networks invisible to the archaeological record. Such developments cannot be entirely explained by isolated experimentation alone. The precision and consistency in form hint at traditions that survived within small communities and perhaps spread when refuges were abandoned and populations expanded. These innovations provide evidence of cultural memory surviving even under demographic stress. Ecological pressures created fragmented communities, yet remarkable parallels appear in subsistence strategies, settlement patterns, and survival techniques across distant regions. In Northern Europe, Africa, and the Levant, humans exploited similar hunting strategies and storage methods while carefully managing scarce resources. These parallels suggest an underlying logic or shared problem-solving approach, as if disparate populations had access to common frameworks of survival knowledge. The repetition of settlement layouts, tool types, and seasonal movement patterns indicates that even extreme isolation could not entirely erase human ingenuity or adaptability, leaving behind a trail of evidence that hints at a common thread linking Ice Age societies. Periods of climatic warming allowed populations to expand and interconnect, revealing genetic echoes of lineages that may have carried information from earlier Ice Age societies. As glaciers retreated and rivers swelled with meltwater, humans migrated into new territories, encountering other groups and exchanging practices, tools, and perhaps even symbolic systems. These expansions left genetic and cultural footprints, from the domestication of plants and animals to early settlement patterns that prefigure later civilizations. The convergence of populations during these interglacial periods may have functioned as a bridge, preserving and transmitting knowledge accumulated under extreme environmental pressures, offering glimpses of continuity in human experience across millennia. Comparisons of ancient human remains show unexpected consistencies in physiology, health, and adaptation, suggesting a subtle network of shared knowledge or inherited survival wisdom. Skeletal analysis reveals patterns in diet, stress markers, and mobility that recur across widely separated populations, implying that human biology and behaviour were shaped in response to similar ecological and societal demands. These consistencies suggest that the human species may have retained memory of survival strategies encoded not only in culture, but also in biology, a living record of resilience. The implications are profound. Even when populations were small and fragmented, key adaptations survived to guide future generations. Analyses of DNA variation hint that some populations recovered more successfully, possibly due to social or technological advantages that were maintained across generations despite environmental collapse. Genetic studies reveal clusters where diversity rebounded faster than in surrounding populations, indicating that certain communities may have developed more effective coping mechanisms or knowledge systems. Archaeological evidence supports this, showing settlements with intricate structures, advanced hunting tools, and storage facilities capable of sustaining growth. These patterns suggest that survival and expansion were not random but influenced by accumulated strategies that reflected a sophisticated understanding of resources, climate, and group cohesion, even in the harshest conditions. The timing of these bottlenecks aligns intriguingly with the first stirrings of agriculture, permanent settlements, and proto-civilizations, raising questions about the influence of Ice Age survivors on later human development. As once isolated populations began to coalesce, they carried with them a wealth of accumulated experience in tool-making, planning, and resource management. Sites in the Fertile Crescent, Nile Valley, and Indus region hint at early experiments in domestication and village organization that seem to echo survival strategies perfected during population contractions. These connections blur the line between prehistoric adaptation and the emergence of structured societies, suggesting that the roots of civilization may reach deeper into Ice Age adversity than previously thought. Evidence of long-distance migrations and cultural exchange during post-bottleneck periods suggests that early human networks may have spanned much broader territories than previously assumed. Items such as obsidian, seashells, and ornamental beads have been found far from their geological sources, implying coordinated exchange and shared knowledge across vast distances. Even as populations expanded from refuges, they may have retained memories of navigation, resource mapping, and social organization learned under duress. These networks likely played a crucial role in transmitting survival strategies, technological innovations, and symbolic traditions, forming a subtle, pervasive web connecting the fragmented remnants of humanity. Subtle traces in our genomes and the archaeological record point to an enigmatic continuity of knowledge, hinting that Ice Age populations may have safeguarded insights that only became visible in later civilizations. Evidence from DNA, settlement patterns, and early urban planning reveals a slow but deliberate inheritance of survival wisdom. Whether encoded biologically, culturally, or socially, these strategies persisted, re-emerging when conditions allowed for growth and the development of complex societies. The imprint of these bottleneck survivors appears in striking parallels across early civilizations, from architectural planning to ritual practices, leaving behind a shadow of human ingenuity that spans millennia and continents. The genetic echoes of these ancient bottlenecks carry whispers of a hidden intelligence that shaped humanity's trajectory long before cities, empires, or written records emerged. Ancient maritime knowledge. Evidence along forgotten shorelines hints at sophisticated seafaring practices, suggesting coastal communities may have navigated far beyond their local waters, with skill now lost to history. These early mariners appear to have understood not only the basic mechanics of boats, but also the subtleties of ocean currents, wind patterns, and tidal shifts. Archaeological finds, ranging from simple dugout canoes to more complex raft-like vessels, indicate a depth of practical knowledge that could support both transport and trade. Some of these structures are located in areas where rising seas have long since swallowed the original docks, leaving only traces in sediment and sonar imagery. Archaeological discoveries of carved boats and reinforced hulls reveal early understanding of hydrodynamics and structural balance that surpasses conventional expectations of their era. Certain hull fragments show deliberate shaping to reduce drag, and some reinforcements suggest awareness of torsion and buoyancy forces. Evidence from sites in the Mediterranean, the Red Sea, and the Pacific points to convergent designs, as if disparate groups independently discovered similar solutions to the challenges of long-distance navigation. Such parallels raise questions about whether knowledge was shared across regions, or if a common ancestral tradition seeded these maritime innovations. Settlements on remote islands demonstrate a capacity for open ocean travel, implying that early humans possessed precise knowledge of currents, tides, and prevailing winds. Archaeologists have noted clusters of tools, pottery, and exotic materials on islands far from continental shores, indicating that regular voyages were not accidental. The ability to reach and resupply these locations would have required careful planning, understanding of seasonal changes, and possibly even early navigation instruments, whether improvised or symbolic. These voyages, often spanning hundreds of kilometers, suggest maritime skill on a level rarely attributed to prehistoric societies. Traces of engineered docks and protected inlets indicate communities adapted their coastlines for sustained maritime activity, signalling organisation and foresight in planning seafaring infrastructure. Stone breakwaters, raised platforms, and channels carved into coastal rock illustrate a desire to shelter vessels from storms and strong currents. These modifications demonstrate an intimate knowledge of local hydrology and weather, as well as a capacity for collective labour and resource management. Such foresight implies not just survival, but a deliberate commitment to establishing persistent maritime hubs capable of supporting trade and communication across distances. Alignments of ancient keys, markers, and beacon stones suggest deliberate use of celestial cues, revealing navigational methods that connected far-flung shores. Some of these structures correspond with sunrise or sunset at solstices, while others align with prominent star patterns. The precision of these alignments would have provided early sailors with a consistent method of orienting themselves at sea, long before magnetic compasses or charts existed. By reading these celestial signals in combination with local landmarks and tides, seafarers could traverse waters previously thought too treacherous for systematic travel. Exotic goods appearing in distant settlements, including obsidian, metals, and shells, point to trade networks capable of transporting materials across hundreds of miles. For instance, volcanic obsidian from specific Mediterranean islands has been found on mainland sites and across other islands, demonstrating deliberate long-distance exchange. Metals with unique chemical signatures appear far from their sources, often accompanied by tools or ornaments indicating both functional and ceremonial value. The movement of these materials suggests not only maritime capability, but also social structures that encourage trade, negotiation, and shared knowledge across broad regions. Engravings and symbolic representations of boats and marine life may have served as navigational guides or mnemonic tools, preserving practical seafaring knowledge across generations. Petroglyphs, pottery motifs, and rock carvings depict vessels with striking anatomical accuracy, including hull shapes, sail configurations, and oar placements. These images could have functioned as teaching aids or records of successful voyages, helping to transmit techniques through storytelling and visual language. The consistency of these representations across cultures implies a shared understanding of seafaring challenges, perhaps rooted in a common maritime tradition. Studies of coastline evolution after the Ice Age show how communities adapted to rising seas, shifting islands, and new estuaries, reflecting an advanced understanding of environmental change. Sites now submerged were once coastal plains and harbours, their inhabitants forced to adjust to gradual inundation and altered shorelines. Archaeological evidence indicates settlement relocation strategies, construction of new landing points, and adaptation of boat designs for deeper waters. These responses suggest both long-term observation and planning, implying that early mariners were attentive not only to immediate survival but to generational continuity in an ever-changing landscape. Comparative analysis of vessel construction across oceans reveals convergent design solutions and hints at shared principles of stability, propulsion, and load management. Despite geographical separation, early boats often display similar hull proportions, weight distribution, and paddle arrangements. Such parallels are difficult to attribute to coincidence, raising the possibility that knowledge travelled across maritime routes or emerge from a common ancestral understanding of watercraft dynamics. These patterns suggest that the mastery of boat building may have been a sophisticated, if largely unrecorded, global phenomenon during prehistory. Distribution of anchor stones, jetties, and harbour layouts across continents suggests a level of coordination or cultural knowledge that remains unexplained by isolated development. Sites in the Mediterranean, Southeast Asia, and the Pacific Islands share striking architectural parallels, from mooring structures to breakwater design. This convergence hints at either a shared body of maritime expertise passed through successive generations, or the remnants of an even older network of seafarers whose influence has yet to be fully traced. The physical evidence alone provides tantalizing hints of complex seafaring societies operating long before documented history. The scattered remnants of ancient maritime activity, from tool deposits to submerged ports, convey a sense of deliberate design and expertise that stretches across distant regions. These sites collectively demonstrate not only technical skill but also cultural continuity, as communities prioritized navigation, trade, and resource management in ways that transcended local challenges. The patterns evident in construction, celestial alignment, and artifact distribution raise questions about the extent of prehistorical maritime knowledge, and whether it was the product of independent innovation or a shared global legacy. Each uncovered harbour, vessel fragment, and navigational symbol offers a tantalizing glimpse into a mastery of the seas that may have united civilizations long vanished beneath the waves. Global patterns in megalithic architecture. Silent giants of unhewn rock appear in dispersed locations, their presence suggesting an underlying intelligence that may link civilizations once thought isolated. From the immense dolmens of Europe to the megalithic temples of Malta, these structures share a monumental scale that exceeds the needs of mere utility. Scholars note that even without written records, the precision and effort involved hint at coordinated knowledge or tradition. The similarities in form, layout, and construction methods evoke questions about whether these communities were exchanging ideas across vast distances or tapping into a common source of architectural understanding now lost to time. Careful study of astronomical markers carved into ancient sites reveals a precision in observation that seems to transcend local innovation. Alignments with solstices, lunar cycles, and star patterns are present not only at Newgrange in Ireland, but also in structures in Sardinia, Malta, and parts of North Africa. Such consistency suggests a sophisticated understanding of celestial movements, possibly for ritual, agricultural, or navigational purposes. The ability to translate these observations into enduring stone monuments indicates knowledge that was widely shared, and perhaps hints at a cultural or intellectual network whose influence spanned the globe in prehistoric eras. Recurring geometric arrangements in tombs, platforms, and ceremonial enclosures hint at shared architectural principles that defy simple coincidence. Circular, oval, and polygonal layouts appear independently in multiple regions, each maintaining proportions and symmetry that echo one another despite geographic separation. The repetition of these forms cannot easily be attributed to random development, and their presence across continents challenges the notion of purely isolated innovation. Instead, these designs may reflect an underlying system of thought, perhaps symbolic, spiritual, or mathematical, that connected societies in ways still largely unrecognized by conventional archaeology. Massive slabs quarried and transported over extraordinary distances testify to techniques and organization beyond conventional expectations for prehistoric communities. From the stone blocks at Stonehenge to the carefully placed megaliths of Corsica and Malta, the logistics alone imply advanced planning, specialized labor, and a shared understanding of engineering principles. Methods of moving and raising these stones remain partially speculative, yet the consistency of approach across regions suggests that such knowledge may have originated in a common source, or at least circulated widely among early civilizations, leaving traces of expertise in the very foundations of these enduring monuments. Distinctive motifs etched into monuments across continents indicate a symbolic language or ritual vocabulary potentially shared across distant cultures. Spirals, concentric circles, and abstract shapes appear not only in the carvings of Neolithic Europe, but also in Mediterranean temples and the petroglyphs of North Africa. These recurring symbols suggest more than coincidence. They may represent codified ideas, cosmological beliefs, or a system of communication inherited or transmitted across long distances. Interpreting their meaning remains speculative, yet their repetition implies a deliberate patterning that conveys intent, belief, or knowledge, bridging communities separated by geography and time. Consistent jointing, leveled surfaces, and exact angles reveal construction practices that suggest an inherited or widely transmitted knowledge. Builders appear to have shared an understanding of principles such as load distribution, alignment, and stability, evident in both dolmens and complex temple structures. The uniformity of these techniques, observed in distant regions, raises the possibility of a broader cultural memory or instruction system that guided prehistoric construction. Each site becomes a chapter in an unwritten manual, where the language is stone and the instructions are encoded in symmetry, balance, and the precise fit of massive blocks. Engineered channels, terracing, and drainage systems demonstrate an understanding of terrain, water flow, and environmental management surprisingly advanced for their time. In Malta, subtle gradients guide water away from temple platforms, while in Sardinia and the British Isles, stone channels appear to have managed rainfall and prevented erosion. Such attention to detail indicates that these builders were not only concerned with ritual or symbolism, but also practical sustainability. The recurrence of these solutions across diverse regions suggests that early societies had developed comparable approaches to environmental engineering, potentially transmitted through shared knowledge or collective problem-solving. The alignment of sacred structures with solstices, equinoxes, and celestial phenomena implies deliberate intent, combining spiritual, astronomical, and practical knowledge. Monuments are oriented to capture the first light of the sun on significant days, marking seasonal changes essential for agricultural and ceremonial calendars. These alignments appear across continents, with precision that implies careful observation over generations. The uniformity of practice suggests that early builders were guided by principles extending beyond local tradition, perhaps drawing from a common understanding of celestial mechanics that informed not only ritual timing but also the placement and orientation of entire architectural complexes. Patterns of circular, oval, and polygonal layouts recur in independent sites, hinting at a common conceptual or symbolic framework influencing design choices. From concentric stone circles to megalithic temples, the repetition of specific ratios and forms points to a shared architectural vocabulary. The consistency across regions suggests that these communities, despite geographic separation, may have drawn from a template of knowledge, possibly cultural, mathematical, or cosmological, that guided their construction efforts. Such parallels strengthen the case for an interconnected prehistoric understanding of form and function, hinting at a sophistication often underestimated in the archaeological record. Variations in local stone sources, yet uniformity in shaping and placement, suggest the transfer of technical knowledge or an early system of standardized methods. Builders adapted to available materials but maintained consistent techniques, proportions, and alignments, revealing a capacity for both innovation and adherence to an inherited system. This interplay of adaptation and standardization points to a shared framework of understanding, whether through direct cultural transmission, trade, or the spread of expertise. Across continents, these patterns persist, providing a tantalizing glimpse into the skills and organizational structures of societies that left no written accounts, but monumental proof of their mastery. Looking across cultures, a network of principles and proportions that transcends geography emerges, implying a shared legacy of architectural wisdom largely obscured by time. Each site, from the temples of Malta to the stone circles of Britain and the dolmens of Iberia, contributes to a silent narrative of human ingenuity. The parallels in scale, alignment, and design suggest that these builders were tapping into knowledge far older and broader than the histories recorded in traditional chronicles. Their creations, dispersed yet coherent, hint at connections between communities whose interactions remain hidden beneath the surface of archaeology, inviting speculation about a shared intelligence guiding construction over millennia. The echoes of this silent, coordinated knowledge seem etched not just in rock, but across the currents of human ingenuity, leaving a trace that still whispers through time. Cultural memory of a lost golden age. Astonishing myths, recurring motifs, and enigmatic artifacts scattered across continents suggest that fragments of an advanced global civilization may have survived only in memory. Scholars studying similarities in architectural styles, ritual practices, and artistic depictions have noted patterns that transcend geography, hinting at knowledge once shared across distant lands. Some of these traces, from meticulously carved symbols to unusually precise constructions, point to a level of sophistication not easily explained by local innovation alone. The evidence, whether in the alignment of stones or the complexity of early urban planning, consistently challenges assumptions about the independent evolution of early cultures and hints at a hidden continuity of human achievement lost to time. Legends of a lost golden age appear in stories passed down for thousands of years, often depicting a world of abundant knowledge, advanced technologies, and harmonious societies. From the oral traditions of Africa to the epic tales of Asia, these narratives describe rulers, builders, or teachers whose wisdom seems almost otherworldly in comparison to known historical records. Certain recurring themes, such as catastrophic floods, celestial knowledge, or miraculous craftsmanship, suggest that these tales may encode memories of actual events or sophisticated practices now forgotten. The consistency across distant cultures implies that these stories were not merely coincidental, but perhaps vestiges of a shared historical experience or collective memory of a vanished civilization. Artifacts discovered in disparate locations, including intricately carved stones, megalithic alignments, and ceremonial tools, reveal striking similarities in design and purpose. Certain shapes, proportions, and orientations recur across continents, hinting at a shared understanding of geometry, astronomy, and symbolic meaning. These parallels are particularly notable given the absence of direct contact between the regions in question, raising questions about whether these patterns arose independently or are remnants of a global knowledge network. The recurring motifs in sculpture, pottery, and ceremonial objects suggest an underlying principle or aesthetic logic that may have originated in a civilization whose influence was far more widespread than previously imagined. Religious and ceremonial sites offer further clues, as their layouts, orientations, and construction methods often demonstrate advanced planning and foresight. Temples, pyramids, and circular enclosures frequently align with solar, lunar, or stellar cycles, suggesting a sophisticated grasp of timekeeping and cosmology. The precision evident in these structures, coupled with shared motifs in carvings and iconography, reinforces the possibility of a common source of knowledge. Even small regional shrines echo architectural principles found thousands of kilometers away, hinting that these methods were transmitted or retained across generations and regions, leaving subtle traces of a sophisticated cultural memory embedded in the very design of sacred spaces. Linguistic echoes across early writing systems hint at similar ideas even when scripts appear unrelated. Symbols representing similar concepts, deities, or natural phenomena appear in cultures separated by oceans and mountains, implying either long-distance communication or inherited memory. Patterns in symbolic representation, such as repeated celestial motifs or depictions of the same ritual practices, suggest a conceptual framework shared by communities that otherwise show little evidence of direct interaction. These parallels are subtle yet persistent, suggesting that underlying cognitive frameworks or knowledge traditions may have been transmitted or preserved across generations in ways still not fully understood by contemporary scholars. Trade networks, while primarily recognized for the exchange of goods, may have also facilitated the spread of cultural memory. Artifacts, rare minerals, and crafted tools found far from their points of origin demonstrate extensive connectivity, and accompanying inscriptions or decorative styles hint at shared practices. These networks may have functioned as conduits not only for material wealth, but also for intangible knowledge, including architectural techniques, astronomical observation, and ritual understanding. Even the movement of commonplace objects, standardized weights, and specialized tools reveal subtle signs of coordinated knowledge transfer, implying that early commerce may have been intertwined with the deliberate preservation and distribution of cultural memory. Examination of ancient agricultural practices reveals patterns of sophistication previously unrecognized. Terracing, irrigation, and crop rotation appear in multiple regions at similar stages of development, often preceding or coinciding with the rise of complex societies. The recurrence of these practices suggests a common understanding of land management and resource optimization, possibly informed by a cultural memory of techniques perfected in a prior era. Furthermore, The use of drought-resistant crops and seasonal cultivation cycles, recorded in ancient texts or preserved in folk traditions, hints at a deep ecological awareness passed down from an earlier civilization whose expertise in sustaining large populations may have influenced emerging societies far beyond its original borders. Archaeological layers and key sites occasionally reveal abrupt transitions, where sudden bursts of innovation appear without clear precursors. Pottery, metallurgy and tool-making techniques advance rapidly, and architectural styles evolve with a precision previously unseen. While some attribute this to independent invention, the global distribution of these sudden advancements supports the idea of transmitted knowledge, preserved across time even as original civilizations vanished. This pattern is particularly noticeable in regions separated by vast distances, where parallel developments occur almost simultaneously, suggesting that human innovation may have been guided by an unseen cultural current, a set of ideas, techniques or traditions that survived in fragments and inspired successive generations. Celestial knowledge encoded in monuments and calendars further deepens the mystery. Observatories, alignments and celestial markers appear in multiple regions, often reflecting the same astronomical cycles with remarkable accuracy. The knowledge required to construct these sites would have demanded careful observation, sophisticated mathematics and precise planning. This recurring understanding of the heavens, combined with consistent ritual and symbolic systems, strengthens the hypothesis that ancient societies retained memory of an earlier era of widespread intellectual achievement, allowing even remote communities to inherit insights that shaped architecture, agriculture, and ceremonial life. Human cognition itself may carry the imprint of this lost golden age. Shared myths, archetypes, and symbolic representations across cultures point to a collective consciousness shaped by historical events or societies now vanished. The repetition of motifs in storytelling, ritual, and art suggests that cultural memory persists not only in material artifacts, but also in the intangible architecture of thought, influencing societies long after the sources have disappeared. From creation myths to moral codes, and from astronomical lore to symbolic numerology, the echo of a distant, sophisticated civilization seems to resonate within the very foundations of human culture. Patterns of sudden societal complexity, urban planning, writing, governance, and monumental architecture mirror aspects of these remembered golden ages, raising questions about the forces behind the abrupt rise of civilization. Across continents, cultures exhibit strikingly parallel developments, often emerging from sparse or fragmented populations into sophisticated social orders. These phenomena suggest the imprint of an inherited legacy, guiding human ingenuity in ways that are only now beginning to be understood. The simultaneous emergence of knowledge in multiple domains hints at invisible threads linking societies through shared memory, lost wisdom, or perhaps an underlying tradition that defies conventional historical explanations. Traces of a lost golden age linger in stories and symbols, hinting at knowledge and civilizations that have quietly shaped human memory across millennia. The resonance of these echoes, visible in ritual, art, architecture, and cosmology, suggests a global consciousness once more interconnected than scholars have imagined, leaving behind a trail of enigmatic clues waiting to be deciphered. Traces of a lost golden age linger in stories and symbols, hinting at knowledge and civilizations that have quietly shaped human memory across millennia.